Well, hey, good evening to you folks. How is everyone this happy Friday? And happy Friday to you. It's lovely to see everybody. Marks the return of the blue lightning turbis. Actually, I think this is kind of a wave ocean pattern on there, but anyway, I like it a lot. Water being my libation of choice this evening. Yang in the audience says, fancy intro. Yes, indeed it is. That music is, of course, by my good friends over at Bards of Greyhawk. They put together an absolutely fantastic piece of music for me there. We've got some events coming up with Bards of Greyhawk, by the way, that you should be aware of, guys. They are working on a track called Ghost Tower of Inverness, and if that sounds familiar to all you AD&D grognards, it should, because that is the name of the fantastic classic first edition AD&D module written by Alan Hammock. They've got Alan appearing in the video, and when that video is ready to go, it's going to be world premiered right here on this show. And we're going to have the Bards, we're going to have Alan Hammock. I'm waiting on the date from them, but we're going to arrange that. We're going to get together and we're going to make that happen. So I'm excited about it, and you should be too. Other things that I'm excited about. I wanted to come in and make the overused yet still cool joke. We're at 369. Nice. But you know what? We blew past it. We blew right past it. We are sitting at 370. So I'm sorry, 370. We are sitting at 870 subs. I was thinking 30. 870 subs on the YouTube channel. Now, if you're new to the channel, if you're just stopping by, if you just stumbled on us on Facebook or on YouTube and you're wondering, what's that got to do with anything? You're just over here counting off your lousy YouTube numbers. When we reach 1,000 subs, we are going to have to celebrate 1,000 subs, we are going to have a virtual tabletop gaming convention. The Great Underground Online Gaming Con is going to happen. I'll be running original Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, First Edition Gamma World, Twilight 2000, Tales from the Loop, Hero Quest, Dungeon, lots of stuff I can think of. And we might even have a guest. We might even have a TSR guest at the con. How does that work in a virtual con? We'll just have to see. Other folks have talked about doing stuff. Now, when I say virtual con, I mean virtual. I mean, it'll be out there in cyberspace. You're looking at about 1/4 of the space that I have. I'm not Gary Gygax, and I'm not quite willing to or able to have a convention in my house like he did with the first 2 or 3 Gen Cons. But I will be more than happy to host that when we hit 1,000 subs. And guys, we're 130 subs away. Y'all are making this happen. You guys are going out there, and you guys are saying, hey, subscribe to Bill Sylvie's channel on YouTube because it's kicking rad AD&D and OD&D and to a lesser extent general RPG and hobby discussion. And I can't thank you enough for that. All right. Y'all are out there doing the legwork, and I really, 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 really appreciate it more than I can easily put to words. So big thanks to you guys. Whether you choose to support the show on Patreon or you're just going out there and saying, hey, you should subscribe to Bill Sylvie's YouTube channel because there's going to be a convention when he hits 1,000 subs. Whatever you're doing, or if you're just chilling, if you're just kicking back, like, man, I ain't got no friends, I ain't got no money, but I love me some classic Dungeons and Dragons and classic role-playing game news. So I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna listen to Bill Sylvie's live stream. That's cool too. I love you just the same. I really appreciate it. I do, guys. I do. and it's happening. We are getting closer. We are getting closer. 130 subs out. When I came up with this idea like early last year, I thought, oh, okay, well, or whenever it was I came up with it. I can't keep track of that. I figured that, whatever. And I didn't throw it out there as like, I can say this because it's never going to happen. And therefore I'll never have to live up to it because I'll never get 1,000. I fervently want to reach more people. And YouTube is my platform of choice. So being able to reach out to you guys, to more of you guys, and to hit 1,000 subs is really important. And it's not just because, see, I don't get YouTube monetization. It's not like they mail me a barrel full of money when I hit 1,000 subs, but it goes up it moves up further in the YouTube algorithm. It kind of starts. Right now, I'm a pebble sitting at the top of the mountain. All right. And there are huge, huge balls of snow that have gone past me. All right. I'm not even rolling yet. But when you hit 1,000 subs, 1K subs, it nudges you off the edge and you slowly start moving forward. Some people stop, they get 1,500 subs, 2,000 subs, whatever, and then they just kind of peter out. Maybe that's the case with me. Maybe I get 1,000 subs and you guys are like, we don't have to spread news of this channel anymore. And if that's the case, that's the case. I'm here for it. You're here for it. And we're still going to have the con. But if it really starts the ball rolling, won't that be an awesome thing to see? So I'm very pleased. Now, I say we're at, 870 subs. That was this afternoon. Maybe it's more. Maybe somebody dropped off. Maybe somebody said, nah, you know what, this isn't for me. This guy's just a blowhard. I mean, but last night we were at 867. So we picked up 3 subs just in the space of like 24 hours. That's one every 8 hours. That's pretty good. So right now, 870 subs. And that's damn exciting. I'm very happy about that. And again, make no mistake, y'all are making that happen. Doomsort says, if the past is any indication, we're due for another OSR revolution, this one bigger than ever. 2024 would be my guess. Yeah, if Wizards keeps pushing stuff like Barista Dungeons and Dragons, 2024 could be our year to seize power. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Y'all know how I feel about the OSR. All right. I mean, I talk about wanting to promote classic D&D, and yet that, I created a Frankenstein's monster that is now ravaging the countryside unabated and has mutated and twisted away from everything that I wanted a resurgence of classic gaming to be. But, revolutions get out of hand. And if I could go back and somehow engineer it to just be about classic gaming again, yeah, I would do it. I would somehow make it so that the demagogues and that the deities and demagogues, the hideboundness, the weird politics that have crept into the fringes of it would just be kept out, and it would just be this, just very simple OD&D, few flavors of basic D&D, AD&D, some Gamma World, some Metamorphosis Alpha, and we'll throw in some Traveler to keep Kyle happy. and some Twilight 2000 for the weirdness, and then that would be it. But, you know, I wasn't minding the store. I thought everybody was moving in the same direction. And I look over my shoulder, and the whole parade, well, a lot of the parade had just meandered off to their own routes. What are you going to do, right? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to continue on, and we're going to quote the great Bing Crosby, accentuate the positive. And we're going to focus on the cool things that we enjoy doing around these parts. Doomsword says, you know what? I'm just going to put it up on the screen. Those guys are like the extreme of the other side. They'll get more and more fringe until there's nothing left for them that's recognizable as a class RPG. Just so. Just so. Man, I really like StreamYard. And I wish I could, the person who donated to us so we can use StreamYard was very, very adamant that they not be doxxed, outed, as it were. So let us move on. Let us move on. Tonight, we're going to continue on. We're going to keep on with our deep dive back into 75 and keep looking at Supplement 2 Blackmoor. Now, we looked at it a little bit yesterday, and we saw some darn cool monsters and some darn cool classes, and then we hit the blah. We hit the absolute blah. And that was hit locations and percentage of a hit point by location type. You know, when Dave Arneson, almost a Dave Cask, when Dave Arneson introduced a system that is more suited to, well, I won't say it's completely like not good, but D&D, and I think you guys will agree with me, classic D&D fans, I think you will agree with me that classic D&D is suited to the quick and the dirty. You know, it's, you send fighters and clerics and a magic user and a thief into a room full of orcs or kobolds, and you want that fight to go quickly. The hit locations, not really conducive to that. That's like skidding towards Rollmaster, which if you want to slow down a game night, break out Rollmaster, even if you have pre-gens and everybody knows how to play it. Your game night is going to shift into low gear, high torque. Or low torque. Whatever. So Damien says, if I was in charge of WotC, if I was in charge of the WotC branch of Hasbro, I'd do what I could to make the older editions print to order. I'd also hire writers to add more stuff for the other settings in D&D. I agree. And we should be happy that we have the stuff that is POD from RPG Now. And I think we could see a lot of good coming out of that if they would just open it all up. I can't but think that they are deliberately not making it all POD. Now, look, you guys know I'm a Greyhawk guy when it comes to AD&D, but hands up, who wouldn't love to have some Forgotten Realms stuff in POD format? You know, get your gray box again. Get your get your classic Forgotten Realms modules again. You know, your Ravenlofts and your Deserts of Desolation and your and so on and etc. Who wouldn't want to have that stuff where they could just reach out and pick it up at any time again? Lots of people would. All right. But this frankly schizophrenic approach that WotC has got to POD products. It's just, guys, come on. You're sitting on a gold mine. You're sitting on a gold mine, and you're not doing anything with it. People want physical copies of your properties to hold in their hands. I mean, I can't help but think that WotC is so afraid of guys like me and other people I know with that mindset going out there and showing people how awesome classic D&D was, that they'll turn their back on it. And Yang says, Blizzard had a hit with classic World of Warcraft. I can see people wanting classic D&D again. Sure. I mean, Blizzard also just re-released Diablo 2. Now, they gave it some retouches because current year, but the gameplay is still the same. You know, I mean, it runs in 1600 by 1080 or 1080 by 1600, and you know, the sprite edging is smoother and so on, but it's still Diablo 2. I mean, I'm one of those weirdos that thought Diablo 2 was an excellent single player game, and I played that campaign to completion a few times, and I loved every minute of it. But from what I'm hearing about 6th edition, I mean, it just, I don't know. Probably make a Magic the Gathering RPG rather than. Yeah, but I mean, you kind of got to play to the strengths of. If you're Wizards of the Coast and you're making a role-playing game, you know, when they made 3rd edition, they put everything under the roof of D20. We had D20 Star Wars, D20, D20 Modern, and of course D&D. You know, they wanted to drive everyone to a unified base. Now, old TSR didn't do that. Yes, Jim says in the introduction to Gamma World that Gamma World is designed to be compatible with AD&D. And in the Dungeon Master's Guide, as we've seen, AD&D and Gamma World can be translated back and forth fairly simply. But they weren't the same mechanics. They weren't exactly the same mechanics. So, you know, I get WotC trying to drive everyone to a single game system base, but TSR didn't do that, and TSR was wildly successful. You know, Top Secret was different from Star Frontiers, was different from D&D. D&D itself was different in its various editions or various forms, basic, advanced, and it was still all successful. So if they were to release a Magic the Gathering role-playing game, I would say that they'd have to base it on the D&D that they had going, or a system that was so close as would make no difference. And I think that would be the best move that they could do. But you know what? You know what I'm not worried about? I'm not worried about what Wizards of the Coast is doing with current year Dungeons and Dragons. Because in here, it's always 1979 and prior. That's right. This would be where I'd queue up 1979 by Smashing Pumpkins, but you know, then I'd get a copyright strike on my channel. But it would have been a great place for it. Don't you think? Just reach over and hit a button on the stream panel, which I don't have, by the way. All right. That's enough faffing about. Let's talk about what we intended to talk about. And let's continue looking at Blackmoor. Just before I do that, though, so I'll tell you a funny story. I think it's a funny story, and hopefully our guests will think it's a funny story too. Well, you know what? I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm just going to go ahead and bring our guest on. This is let's see here. Stream. Good evening, Yang. How are you?
Hey.
Surprise! You're on. You're live.
Good to be back.
It's good to see you again. Now, a lot of you guys know Yang. He's been on the live stream before. You know, I think we need to do better for Windows for the time being. There we go. See your smiling face. Yang's been on the show before. Been kind of hanging out together in a virtual sense. We bumped into each other over on Jayashiro Finney's live streams, and I've been on his stream, and he's been on my stream, and you know he's a well-heeled member of our Discord. So I'm casting about, and I'm looking for folks who want to play in a live stream Gamma World game. Gang does, and there was some miscommunication because Yang rolled up an AD&D character and it's like, I think I'm going to play a magic user, and I was like, okay, a magic user in Gamma World, and so
I guess I misread something at one point. I thought Gamma World was like a module for Greyhawk. I was like, okay. Maybe
sort
a wizard.
Sort of. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Gamma World and AD&D are compatible. If you had done that, but I love this character. Okay, let's just port him right over. We'll just make a few changes, and there you go. But go ahead. You were saying something.
Oh, no. When I play in other people's campaigns, like I don't like to read much of the campaign source material because I don't want to, especially now, if you're downloading something, it's like, oh, am I accidentally going to download something that has all the secrets and, where all the traps are and stuff? So that was my fault.
Oh, no, it's completely okay. It is okay. So once we got him straight, he's like, oh, we'll make a Gamma World character. And I was like, yeah, I have the Gamma World rules, and we'll get together. So ostensibly Friday nights is when we'd be playing Gamma World. So I got him on the right track with Gamma World. And he messages me yesterday or day before yesterday, hey, I'll be there on Friday. Great. Awesome. And I think you thought we were playing Gamma World tonight, but we're playing D&D tonight.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of this who's on first type situation, but Yang has decided to be fed to the gears and machinations of Temple of the Frog, which is now I may get in trouble with some Arneson fans here, but I feel it merits mentioning. It is the first fully developed Dungeons & Dragons adventure published by TSR, but it is not the first Dungeons & Dragons adventure. That honor goes to the sample dungeon in the OD&D set, which you can use. All the rooms have encounters in them. All of the areas noted by letter and by number are all fully statted up. You can use that, but Temple of the Frog does go that extra mile. It is a fleshed out campaign with a village, a dungeon, a castle, the works that you got for the princely sum of $5 back in 1976, which is about a full day's pay, depending on what you were doing back then. Yeah, so it is the first fully fleshed out adventure published by TSR. And the interesting thing was they did TSR, and I don't know if you knew this, Yang. TSR did not want to publish modules or campaigns. Gary was very much of the mindset, what kind of a dupe would buy stuff that we write? Why would you not make your own dungeons? Making your own dungeons, we put it in the rules. That is like the most fun part of refereeing Dungeons and Dragons. Why would you get other people's stuff? And then here's Judges Guild making money hand over fist by doing just that with their published campaign settings. It turns out a lot of people wanted pre-made stuff, and so TSR very quickly got their feet under them. And when official TSR modules started rolling out, well, even before official modules, the Holmes introductory D&D set came originally with a rule book and the Monsters and Treasures and Dungeon Geomorphs, which is just like a series of random tables to consult with complete encounters, and then maps you'd cut apart and stick together. And those sold like hotcakes. When TSR got into the module publishing business, it was Katie bar the door. People really wanted pre-published stuff. Yeah, just for the sake of some of our viewers, and don't worry, value viewers, we will be dragging him kicking and screaming into Blackmoor shortly. But as a gamer, first, the guy on the other side of the screen from the DM, module or completely homebrew, what is your preference?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to go slightly off choice for a second, and I'm going to say either is okay. It's more the group that you're playing with that brings the fun. But if you made me choose, because I've had fantastic games in homebrew settings and I've had fantastic games from modules, I kind of prefer homebrew.
Okay.
Just because. For me, like once you, I think like the TSR mythology, the TSR lore is fantastic, and I think it's a great starting place. But I think it can start to bog down games in a certain aspect when it's like, oh well, they made things way A, and well, I can't deviate from that. So if you're playing pre-made modules, you have a little bit less of a free hand. And also when you've got homebrew, you kind of get to see like the DM, like what their choices, how I guess they flavor the world in a pre-made one, but what does the DM value? And I think that it's a lot easier to see what they're bringing to the table.
Okay. And so does that hold true then? It sounds like you're pretty firmly, decided upon that belief. So that holds true for DMing or playing for you?
DMing. That's a good question.
Yeah. As a DM, a pre-published module or coming up with your own stuff, because you can't deny the utility of being able to pick up an adventure, spend a few hours in prep and running it.
Yeah, well, that's great. So as a guy who's currently writing a campaign guide, you have no idea how many times I wish I could just pick up a book and only spend a few hours looking into the information instead of like doing crazy amounts of research and writing and rewriting. The thing is, we live in a world where, a lot of people who play this game these days work 40 hours a week, and maybe you have kids or, you're dating someone or married. Most people don't have that many hours in a day to make a full campaign. And it's fantastic. Either if you're like just taken the best parts of these modules and putting it in your homebrew, or you're using it all, straight from whatever book you got out of. I mean, there's fantastic utility, and many of them are excellent as written. So, no knock on pre-made campaigns. I think they're excellent. But, for me, I guess I just value a little more freedom to be able to shift the story a little bit. If my players sort of go off the rails, I'm in some ways I feel a little bit more free to, make them pay the consequences based on the logistics and history of, the area that they're in. And whereas I've seen some games where, you could tell the DM feels stuck a little bit. But I think that there's another excellent utility to the modules, both as a player and a DM. And that's, especially when you're new, and maybe you don't have the confidence to, really create your whole world. I think it's great to get get a little experience, DMing a pre-made module. So you get into the flow, you develop your own rhythm of how you want to tell that story. And then, after you do a few of those, then go homebrew.
That's a fine answer. And, I agree with you. And I think as AD&D grew out, and I've harped on this before a lot, as AD&D grew out, the module as skeletal framework for the Dungeon Master kind of started getting overlooked. And we ended up instead with the module is everything, just rip the plastic off right at the table, flip it open to page 1, and start playing it the minute you get back from the store. And the module has to be written to that timbre of play, to that tempo of play, so that there's nothing in there that makes the DM go, wait a second. Okay, I need to adjust this. This references things, or I don't like this magic item, or that encounter for that huge amount of treasure is not nearly enough. Just the idea was just sit down, look on the book. Oh, it's the castle. Some dragons have gone to war with humanity. Yeah, okay, this fits. And then you play it. So I think there is a point at which modules served the purpose of skeletal framework to put your own ideas into with some preparatory work. I mean, look at one of the best regarded modules in Dungeons and Dragons is G1, Studying of the Hill Giant Chief. 8 pages. 8 pages long. And yes, there are illustrations in it. I think it clocks in at like 9,000 words. Now compare that to, well, frankly, anything that's come out in the last, say, 25 years. They're fantasy novellas.
Yeah.
It's just, you put the players on almost Pirates of the Caribbean like ride through them, and everything is already there, and it's I mean, it's fine with everything being already there for the players, but for the Dungeon Master, I think it robs you of a little bit of creativity.
Yeah, I think so too. But that having been said, what if you're, let's say you've played some D&D and you say, I think I really want to DM. You don't have the confidence. You don't know where to begin. I think those are, those can be nice for like a first, let me see how this works out. You don't have to worry about as much. You could just worry about having people, having your players have fun in the game. So I think it takes a little burden off. And it's kind of like, if I were to tell you to go to the gym and bench press 400 pounds, you couldn't necessarily do that right now. But if I gave you a year and you slowly, upped your difficulty, yeah, you could do that. And so I think a lot of this kind of stuff is like, how do you get your whistle wet in terms of role playing? And, not that players aren't creative, but you have a lot more of the creative responsibility when you DM. So, if someone feels they need to ease themselves into that, I certainly don't. I don't have any hard feelings. But I mean, definitely, I think having your own campaign is, gets to be a better expression, and then you feel more free mechanically and creatively to, change the game on the fly, because your players are going to screw up whatever you have planned for sure, and it's going to be awesome. So, once you have a little bit of confidence, homebrew, I think, is the way to go.
And I would agree with you. I just think that modern D&Ds don't do as good a job because of the complexity of the available adventures, the completeness of them.
Yeah.
So let's keep with your weightlifting analogy. You don't expect a guy to bench press 400 pounds. That's fine. Noodle Arms McGinty over here can't lift up a drink can without breaking a sweat. So what do? You give him, a little weight, little 2-pound weights, and he can just sit there and do that. I would posit that there's a level of comfort that those 2-pound weights of RPGs impart that people never want to part, that many people never want to part with. And so in 6 months, while you might have a third or a quarter or 15% or a tenth of people willing, they're the ripped ones going to my buddy Kyle's like Iron Gym, working out. Most everybody else is still just doing the 2-pound weights because, freebie published complete adventures down to pre-gens for free at the DMs Guild are just what they know, and they never leave the comfort zone. But that's more of a people thing. I think ultimately you've got to break through to people and in an engaging style.
And too, I think not everyone is really meant to be a DM. There's a lot of people, they don't like the stress, they don't like the pressure. They're much happier playing a character, and that's one way you find out. But I do think that you're right. For me, there's basically 3 kinds of D&D books. So a type 1 book is like a player in info book. So you got like Player's Guide, DM Guide, the monster manuals. Type 2 is where you have like settings. And maybe they'll have some like story hooks, but there's no real overarching storyline. And type 3 is you have more of a straight storyline. So I think, that's one of the things too, is if you want to become a DM, you want to try to find a type 2 book where, okay, I don't have to make up, my own creatures. There's pre-made magic items, but there's no story. I have to make up my own story. That's a pretty good intermediate step to me. And, and a lot of the modern stuff, some of it is a bit too type 3. To I don't want to say on rails, but there's a definite storyline that if people start to veer from it, it becomes a real problem.
Oh no, you're absolutely right to say on rails. I mean, the Railroad Adventure, I'm sure a lot of homebrew DMs were guilty of it before this.
Oh, sure.
But prominently, the Dragonlance series are some of the most notorious, choo-choo, all aboard, here's your script, welcome to the game, adventures ever published. And, those are a danger to potential DMs, I think, more than, any set of bad rules is bad modules. A DM that can think their way around bad rules but gets their hands on bad modules is going to have a worse time than a DM who adheres to bad rules but is able to think outside the box on adventures.
Yep.
So we're going to find out tonight just exactly how good or bad the adventures in Blackmoor are. Now, do you have some dice handy, Yang?
Oh, that's a good question.
No dice.
Of course. There's always a bag near the computer.
Good for you. Good for you. I, of course, don't need any. I will be the referee, and the only reason we have dice is because we like the sound they make when they clatter on the table. No, I have my tray. Where's my tray? Okay, do you know how original Dungeons and Dragons character creation works?
Well, I think it depends. Some of it was just roll 3d6s, and then there was also the optional roll 4d6s, drop the lowest.
Never in original D&D was 4d6
Really?
drop lowest. That is method 1, and that does not come into being until AD&D. What you're going to do is you're going to go strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma, down the line, 3d6, take what you get.
Okay. All right.
So give us a 3d6 roll and tell us what you got.
All right. Give me 1 second. Grab a slice of paper here.
That's fine.
All right. Oh, so for the first roll, I have 17.
We have a fighting man then. All right. Give us your second one. So strength is 17. Intelligence is...
Okay. Now, you're not going to believe this, but it is legitimately an 18.
You're right. I don't believe that, but hey, it's a one-off. No. I believe it right there, ladies and gentlemen. So strength 17, intelligence 18. Better see some settling back to the meme there. I'm going to have to send the dice police after you. Give us a wisdom roll. Did I mute you by accident, Yang? We can't. Okay, hang on. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you. I don't have you muted. Uh-oh. I hear you there. Okay. I got you. All right.
It was 15.
My God. All right. So strength 17, intelligence 18, wisdom 15. All right, Odin. What do you got?
Sure you don't want me to start over?
What do you got? No. I would have made you stick with 4s and 5s, but.
Okay, so the next one is 8.
All right. So not quite so dexterous. Not dextrose.
He has big steak fingers.
Constitution.
Like steak fries.
Like steak, yeah. Big mitts.
Constitution is 11.
That's not bad. Slightly above average. And finally, charisma.
Uh, 4.
You're kidding me, right? All right. Sir Yang the repellent. All right. So, you kind of down like that. Somebody, Doomsword said, I want to see a 4. So Doomsword, Yang will suffer for our entertainment. So let's see. We're gonna go by Greyhawk rules here. And say, let's make you a 4th level fighting man. So roll 4d6, and those are your hit points.
Ooh, that's not good. Let's see, 5, 8.
8. So you best be sneaky.
Not with that dex.
All right, so you've got average equipment. We'll just go with the standard adventurer's haul of, a dagger, sword, a bow, 20 arrows, plate mail, helm, shield, torches, flasks of oil, 50 feet of rope, a 10-foot pole, and a leather backpack. With your strength, your base move is still 80 feet around. And we're gonna take a crack at so Ron Redmond said, so paladins are in play? Well, but not for you. All right, so let's go ahead then and have a gander. I'm gonna, let's see, where is it? Is that it? Or is that which one is this one? I'm just trying to find the here we go. Okay. So let me introduce you players to the Temple of the Frog. And I'm going to put this up on the screen so everybody can see this. Yang, you'll still be there and hearing this, and then we'll get into the meat of the module here. So there's OBS. All right. Alrighty, so deep in the primeval swamps of Lake Gloomy, shrouded in perpetual mist, lies the city of the Brothers of the Swamp. For years past, this religious order has delved into the forbidden areas of study and determined that animals have more potential to populate the world than man, who was, after all, a biological abomination which would ultimately threaten the existence of all life. Therefore, the good brothers began developing a strain of amphibian that would combine the worst ferocity and killer instinct of larger mammals with the ability to move through swamps with great swiftness, to strike and avoid retaliation. Combining the natural animals available with each other through the use of biological mutations and methods discovered in old manuscripts, the brothers began developing the giant killer frogs of the swamp. These beasts grow to almost 2 feet in length and come equipped with razor-sharp teeth and talons to attack and rend any prey they are ordered to attack. For years, the brothers hewed out dark caverns beneath their temple to make breeding areas for the frogs. Human victims were offered up to the Lord of the Swamp, a large metal image of a frog set at the very front of the temple, through a circular opening at the idol's feet. This opening actually led down to the great breeding pond beneath the temple, where sacrificial victims were eaten upon arrival. Thus, the frogs were accustomed to human flesh and blood early in their lives, and their aggression increased by the fighting between them over limited food. Not nice guys, this bunch. A special order called Keepers of the Frogs evolved to tend the beasts in the depths of the temple. These devoted fellows have become so separated from the main order as to develop a completely different outlook on their duty from that intended. Their original high regard for their charges has, by continued close contact, developed into disdain and even hostility towards them. This was increased when only those brothers who had failed in their duty were assigned to be keepers, ostensibly to redeem themselves, and consequently they have not retained the high principles of the rest of the order. The keepers were never questioned about the failure to produce larger killer frogs or the decreasing fertility of the ones already bred, since they were not above sending a few frogs to destroy those who might ask such questions. The keepers have no desire to leave the catacombs and breeding areas, since return might prove troublesome without the services of their charges. In further efforts to increase the number of frogs, the brothers have sought to increase the purchase of slaves for the sacrifices and raise the necessary revenue by trading their handicrafts and medicines with the outside world. These traders are recruited exclusively from among the most loyal brothers and serve for a period of no more than 10 years as roving merchants. Since any outside contact with the temple is to be avoided, these merchants further disguise themselves as traders from far places. To avoid identification with the Brothers of the Swamp. Always traveling in groups of 3 or more who are to spy on each other to ensure fealty, They are rewarded at the end of their service with high rank and position in the hierarchy, and they occasionally receive seats on the ruling council. Trade, however, has always proven difficult due to the efforts required to disguise the destination and area where the temple is located, as well as the limited value of the local products. It thus came to pass some 100 years ago that the order entered into contracts with men who were outside the law. In return for acquiring articles needed by the temple, the bandits would receive the protection and sanctuary of the temple. This has not proven to be the boon that it had been hoped for, since the location of the temple is now known to those who are not particularly loyal to it, and raiders have come to dominate the non-religious life in the community in a quite unholy manner. The success of their operations, combined with their intimate knowledge of the swamps, has made them a virtually separate power within the realm of the order. This state of affairs has continued for almost a generation, with the temple gradually a less holy order devoted to destruction and more of an outlaw kingdom within the swamp, preying on any passing party. And this goes on for quite a while. This is the dreaded beast of box text that plagues all dungeon masters. Let's see. There came one day a strange individual called Only Stephen the Rock, who came with 3 followers. Stephen possessed some very unusual powers and was looking for a place to establish himself. Quickly, he became a part of the temple and was appointed to the council upon assurance that he and his followers would revive the purpose of the temple and bring about the completion of its mission within the near future. Certain brothers who objected were cast into the breeding pools, others became keepers, and some were said to have been struck down by lightning. Moving to consolidate the power of the temple over the town, certain loyal troops were hired there, although no one knows how many loyal types could be found in that teeming nest of vipers. These were trained to a machine-like precision, and when the time was ripe, they descended to the town and destroyed the growing power of the bandits. None escaped, and those who were spared were, more often than not, made slaves of the temple. Now, see, that is bad module design, in my opinion. As Dave spends paragraphs setting up this whole thing with the bandits, and then penultimately just wipes them out. It's like, I told you all about the bandits, but forget that because they're all dead. Thanks, Dave. Now, I want to see something here. Can I? No, I cannot do that. Never mind.
Yeah, seems like, if they're going to come back as zombies later, excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Or, if there's a few bandits hiding out who've hired your party to go get revenge for them. But let's see. The remaining, the greater part of the town that was destroyed in the fighting, and the 2 of the 3 companions of the Rock disappeared. The remaining follower was made the commander of the temple guards, while the good brothers set about rebuilding the town and modifying the surface appearance of the temple. The latter was then given the farm of a great frog of the swamp. I think probably that's a typo. It should be form of the great frog of the swamp, 100 feet wide, 200 feet long, and 80 feet high. Yeah, I'm thinking that's supposed to be form. Much special engineering was supervised by the Rock, who asserted that in times of utmost crisis, the temple itself would defend the holy order. A large garden now extends in front of the temple to the open water and is flanked by a massive wall with towers at both ends to protect the temple's access from the swamp. The temple itself is surrounded by a wide moat, and the old walls have been completely rebuilt with towers at all corners and siege machines installed at regular 25-foot intervals along the stone walls themselves. To the east is an area set aside for the guards and the brothers, a special residence from where much of the day-to-day work and schooling are now carried out. This also has a garden-like atmosphere and has a wall covering its approaches, as well as separating it from the rougher areas of the main town. A natural cove was built within the flanking towers to protect the waterfront section. This assures that access to the open water by the order, even though all other areas of the fortress should fall. In the lower section of town, where the new guards destroyed the power of the old bandit chief, the tangle and squalor remain. And here is where most of the workers and raiders still live. But you just told us that the raiders were wiped out, Dave. Security is provided by groups of soldiers and priests that patrol the area, and there is little of the free-for-all atmosphere of past days. The trade missions still go out, and there is much more emphasis on this trade than in the past, with the temple producing much in the way of luxury goods that are of high quality. How this is done is not known, but new methods of production are said to have been devised by Stephen that verge on the magical by their strange workings. The raiders still go out, but each mission is accompanied by a detachment from the temple, and outposts have been set up where the raiders offload their goods far from the actual temple. These goods are shipped to the temple under special escort of the priests, who ensure that if capture is imminent, all are killed to conceal the location of the temple. Thus, the temple's location is once again a secret, for it is rumored that the site has been changed from the old area it occupied to a new one by some mighty spell. This is doubtful. The power of the temple has grown many-fold of late, and the border regions now often feel its sting. The keepers have even been reconciled to a point, and the swamps around the place now teem with killer frogs, thus providing additional security against surprise. Yang, are you ready to challenge the power of the Temple of the Frog?
Sure.
All right. More confident words never spoken. You're certainly not going to get anywhere with your looks, right?
Not this guy, no.
All right.
Or his smell. That's probably why they picked him to go into the swamp.
Exactly. It'll be a natural. He'll be at home there. All right, let's see. Bring that back down, and I'll be looking, but you won't be looking because it'll be a surprise then. So we're gonna take a look here. I'm not gonna, like I said, this is not gonna be a room to room search of the Temple of the Frog. One, that would take all night. Two, the part that didn't take all night would be you dying because you're soloing Temple of the Frog.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, Damien asks, shouldn't this lore be broken up as far as the game progresses? And yes, I agree with you, Damien. That's a good question. If this wasn't just kind of showcasing the module, you would be right. But as we are just kind of playing some choice encounters out of it, I felt it necessary to front load so Yang and the rest of the audience and you guys would know, how we were going to do this. So for the next, hour and a half, whatever, we've got that full background. It's kind of like when you go to a con, you go to a con, the game master doesn't spend like big chunks of a con game investing you in the lore of whatever world his module is set in, right? It's like that. Yep. Unless it pertains specifically to the dungeon you're going in, the trade war between the Hatfields and the McCoys doesn't really enter into what you're trying to do in the space of 4 hours, because you've got another game immediately after this one across the venue. So,
is it bad I keep thinking of that priest as Dwayne Johnson?
Well, somebody in the chat was saying something about Dolph Lundgren. What was it? Strong, smart, but a man of few words like Dolph Lundgren. That was Damien. And you point out that Dolph has a master's in chemistry. So that's right. He's a smart fellow. Greetings, Chris. Welcome. Okay, so we have the town and the temple, and there's warehouses. It's a town, and it's fairly well described. A few of the quarters set aside for the 100 or more brothers of the orders is Area 1. And, I'm going to put this back up on the screen. I'm going to come back over here because there is stuff initially that I'm going to show you guys. So we've got, let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit to make it fit, because of how StreamYard and so on does its screen division. Let me do this. Yeah, that's a little better. I'll put us on either side, and then that way they can see my smiling face and yours. All right, so we have, the town and the temple, a few of the quarters set aside for the 100 or more brothers of the order. Each building is a simple 15 by 15 single-story structure, which is a small courtyard, which is shared by an adjoining structure. Yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the dungeon, Dave. Come on. Warehouses where the goods seized by the raiders are first taken and stored, blah, blah, blah. Reserve barracks for guards. Now, if we were playing with like the 10 to 15 to 20 people a module like this truly requires, I would be keeping all of this behind the screen. I would not be highlighting this. But this is really meticulously put together by Arneson and edited by Tim Kask here. This is when we were talking earlier about, good modules versus modules that maybe go a little bit far. This just strides that razor blade, in my opinion. Like, I think it's a little heavy-handed in some areas, but not so much. I would say it's about the same weight, maybe a little heavier than Steading in the Hill Giant Chief. I some of the information could be seen to be extraneous, but if you really take a look at it, it is actually relevant. Like Area 4 here, if you guys look at Area 4 at the very bottom, meals are served all the time as the entire community eats here once or twice a day at about 3-hour intervals. Well, who cares? Well, wait a second. If everybody's there, that makes sneaking in easier. If you know that, if you send a spy in or use some kind of scrying magic, then you're going to know that. And let's check out. This is the that's the temple map. That is the first ever published D&D map. And it always struck me that the Temple of Elemental Evil, the actual Cathedral of Evil map, and the Temple of the Frog map looked a little bit alike. But then I think that's probably because religious buildings are going to be long and narrow, But so we do have some similarities. Did I skip over that map? Pardon for the scoliosis, guys. There we go. Okay, so the Great Swamp of Mill, and then we have the Temple of the Frog. We have the aforementioned towns. There's the area I was just reading about over here. Whoops, went a little blue, where the 100 or so priests live. Here's the ruins of the town, the accessible waterfront. So Arneson was really creating a living, a living adventure space here. This is no simple, you're in front of a cave entrance. You can hear the sound of kobolds within. So not only do we get the first dungeon adventure, you've got a city crawl here. You've got a wilderness adventure here, This is truly a complete module. So I can't fault it for its completeness in that respect. And then there's some descriptions of the areas that we were just looking at on the map. And then there's the temple proper. So we're going to go ahead and use the magic of illusion. And Yang, we're going to say that your character has infiltrated the dungeon. And I'm going to, just to kind of keep things flowing, I'm going to give you a couple of potions of healing. How about that?
Excellent.
So those will restore 1d6 per imbibing.
Okay. How many did I have?
You've got 2.
Okay.
Arneson knows how to defend his own keep, Master Dwarf. Right. Nice one, Paul says. With 20 people, hell would come to Frogtown. All right, so let's see. Let's find a nice, juicy encounter where you can get on some sword swinging. Yeah, this is more descriptive stuff, rings, so on. And this, a thumbs down on this, because midway through the module, the whole flow of the description of the module is broken to launch into this description where I guess Arneson wanted to go full Tolkien and have Rings of Power was thrown into the mix. Because, we stop from, okay, I know how the dungeon is laid out. I'm getting how the temple works. Oh, well, now I get to read up about, 9 for the frog keepers under the sky, 48 for the sergeants doomed to croak. All right, so now we're back into the dungeon on the bottom half of page 36. And we will find so you managed to duck and sneak past all of these areas. And don't look too closely now.
All right.
Don't look too closely.
He's on tiptoes with his plate armor.
Yes.
Inching his way along.
Clank.
It's probably taken him like a day and a half to get this far.
First level of the dungeon. Here we go. All right, so Yang, let me go here back to the back to this view. So, and put our smiling faces up there. You have located a secret door near the southern down, which is near an underground stream. So you have a secret door. You have a passageway that goes slopes away behind you.
Okay. Sorry. So is the door blocking this stream? Like, can I see the stream under the door, or are they two separate things?
They're two separate things. The stream is nearby.
Okay.
It does not directly interact with the stream.
Did I come from the stream, or I'm just in this room?
You came in from the upper temple.
Mm-hmm.
And found your way down through passages, and the whole. I'll slip on a robe and just follow these guys for a minute, then duck into a shadowed chamber, and so on, over the course of many days, avoiding being seen and whatnot. Sleeping in a broom closet, that sort of thing, to find yourself.
Well, you can't go wrong with secret doors. So I am going to see. Did I acquire any keys or anything along my travels?
We'll say that you have picked up a ring of thick iron keys. Yes.
All right. So I'm going to take a quick look around, make sure no one's looking, and I am going to start trying the keys one by one.
Okay. All right, on your third try, you find you realize that the keys are not what's opening it, but as you're kind of poking around with a key, you realize that there's a lever you can throw to open this door. And as it takes you a while to figure that, you hear something coming down the hall. Dun, dun, dun.
From behind me, right?
Yes, from behind you. And for that, we will consult the Underworld and Wilderness Adventures for random encounters. So you are on a dungeon level. You are on the first level of the dungeon. So what is it that you might encounter down here in the temple? Let's see.
Friendly town people. Friendly town people.
All right. You hear a hissing and slithering sound coming down the hall toward you. A snake, perhaps.
I will turn around and see if I can see it.
All right. Assuming you have a light source of some kind, you hear the reptilian sounds of something slithering along the floor, and there, about 40 feet up the hallway, you see two huge snakes. They're not giant. They don't take up the entire hallway, but they're rather large snake types. Their tongues flicking in and out, and they see you and begin to crawl forward. You have perhaps a turn or two before they reach where you're at. What do you wish to do?
Well, as much as I would love to try to shoot them, I think I'm going to try to flip that lever and get through the door and close it on the other side.
Okay. All right. On your second try, just as the snakes are within perhaps a leg's length away, you leap through the door and work the mechanism, and it eases shut behind you.
Nothing can go wrong now.
Exactly. You're fine. You're golden. You're 5 by 5.
So I will raise up my torch and check out this room, hallway.
Okay. You are in a 40 by 40 chamber. The room is filled with rotting finery that has been propped up, cleaned up to the best of its ability, but clearly these are bits of refuse and cast off whatnot. And there are divans and couches arranged across the middle of the room. And while you can't see the figures, you can see an arm here, a leg there. And a feminine voice from the middle couch calls out, "Who's there?"
He will pluck himself up in his most confident voice, and he will say, how yins all doing? The brothers just sent me down here to see if yins need anything.
Raising her voice to a nasty pitch, the one in the middle says, "The brothers? They've discovered us!" And she rises up and turns, and you can see now that her otherwise beautiful face is framed with a head full of asps. And the other two figures on other chairs and couches likewise turn to face you. They're far enough away that you know, they're close enough that you know they're Medusae, but they're far enough away that they don't immediately turn you to stone. What do you wish to do?
What are the? Do I know if I need to go through this room?
No, you don't know if you need to go through this room. You are wandering.
I'm wandering. All right. Oh, so this moldy finery that's around them. About how far away is that? 40 feet? Or
yeah, they're about 30 feet away. Their living space, as it were, is at the far end of the room. Yes.
Can I toss my torch onto some of these couches and see if I can set the place on fire?
You can certainly try. They are standing up. Again, it's beautiful faces, but snakes on head. No matter how pretty they are, you know that if they get close enough, there's a chance they could turn you to stone and add you to the now visible small collection of statuary in the far corners of their room. Let's go ahead and roll initiative and see what happens here.
All right, so D20?
It's a D6. It's
a D6.
It's a D6,
okay.
yeah.
5.
All right, it is an initiative tie, so you're throwing your torch as they're starting to move. There's linen-covered tables and divans and that sort of thing about the chamber. So roll a D20.
17.
17. That lands squarely on a dust cloth covered table, and it begins to flare up. The one nearest to it, who would be coming on your left, her right, screams and immediately turns, and you can hear a clatter, like perhaps she's grabbing a bowl or a pitcher, and the one in the middle says, "We'll kill you for that." And they're charging across the room towards you, trying to fix you with their gaze. So let's see. We're going to say they were distracted long enough at the end of that round to not use their gaze weapon on you yet. So it's a new round, but they will be danger close and trying to look you in the eye and add a very unfortunately unattractive piece of statuary to their collection. What are you going to do in the next round? You bought yourself a round. What are you doing?
Well, I think since I am kind of screwed, does he have a shield?
Let me see. I'm just using Xylarthan II. Yes, you have a shield.
Okay, so well, they got to be within 80 feet now. So he is going to put the shield up, and he's gonna make sure his eyes are looking towards the ground. And he is going to charge and take a swing at whichever one's the closest with his sword.
Okay, I'm going to say that you have a 20% reduction in your chance to hit, which is a total of -4.
All right.
But you can certainly take a swing at them. Let me look and see what the combat attributes of the Medusae are. Let's see. So that, yes, they're wearing rather diaphanous clothing, and under different circumstances, you would perhaps be less inclined to stab them to death with your sword.
Definitely.
But they're quite angry. So let's go ahead and roll initiative then. You do have your shield up, but they can still strike at you. One is, we'll see what they're going to do. Roll a D6, please.
2.
It is an initiative tie. So one of them reaches out and grabs your shield, or is grabbing at your shield, to try and yank it out of the way. You repel her with your shield. She is unable to do so. The other draws a dagger from her waistband and begins swinging it at you.
Come on, plate armor.
It clatters off. And let's see. You notice that not only is she wielding a dagger, but it is envenomed. You are enraged at the idea that she tried to poison you. You will fight at +4 because of that rage.
Just my ex-girlfriend.
Exactly. So you saw that knife come in, and you could clearly see it was covered with a sticky green ichor. He is fighting Medusa in the temple. So in this round, the third Medusa will move towards you. She is coming from your left.
Okay.
So while you are averting your eyes, you will not gain your shield armor class bonus against her, but you will gain it against these two. So against the one in the middle, you suffer no. You only suffer a -1 penalty. Well, actually, with your strength, you suffer no penalty at all. With that strength, you suffer no 2-hit penalty at all because you're enraged by the poison that you saw on her dagger. So go ahead and make your attack on her.
So D20 again, or
it is a D20. Yes.
D20, okay.
We're using the alternate combat system in OD&D, not the chainmail combat system.
6.
A 6 will be a miss. Well, let's see. You're a fighting man of 4th level. Let me see. And she only has an armor class of 8. Perhaps that is sufficient. Oh, I'll have to open. I'll have to reopen that. Let's see. There we go. Men and Magic. All right. So a 6 total. Yes, so you are a hero possessing a 4 hit dice. And no, that will not hit.
All right.
For reference sake, you need a 9 minimum to hit them.
Okay.
So it's the new round. They are going to continue to attack you. The one coming from your left is saying sweetly to you, "Look into my eyes, dear. Look into my eyes. It will be over momentarily." So I'm guessing you don't wish to fix gaze with her.
I do not wish to fix gaze with her. I will yell at her. He's always taught your gaze like this. And I will continue to press my attack.
All righty, roll initiative then, please.
6.
You will go first. Are you attacking the one to your right, the one in front, or the one to your left?
Which one had the venom dagger?
The one directly in front of you.
I will try to get her.
All right. Make your attack.
Oh, God. 2. Okay.
All right. That is not sufficient. The one on your right. The one on your right continues to attempt to wrench the shield out of your hands and does not do so. The one in the middle slashes out with her dagger. She will strike you and do 3 points of damage.
Hey.
Roll a d20.
Okay. 2.
Well, the good news is you didn't get turned to stone.
Shortest module ever.
The good news is you did not get turned to stone.
Okay.
Would you like the bad news, or can you figure out what it is straight away?
Well, I'm sure I'm poisoned.
That you are. What can I say? The Medusa eat fairly well that evening. So you fell in combat against Medusa in the Temple of the Frog. But we can continue on. We can restore from last save and pitch you against some other encounters.
All right.
So had you defeated them, 2,000 gold pieces and 5 1,000 gold piece gems hidden behind a tapestry would have been yours. So
dang it.
And for those who are interested, the Medusae were imprisoned here, but have, in the course of the last 100 years, dug their way to this room and enlarged their area of influence and operation. Since they are in all respects trapped here, they wait to get out and attack the brothers of the frog, whom they hate. There are other Medusa on the second level who also, well, I probably shouldn't tell you that. Let's see. So we're going to kind of have that the film version of Clue moment, you know, where they go, but maybe it happened like this, and just rewind and find another interesting part. I will again, this is a sample, this is an example for the players. I'm going to show you guys, this is Arneson's dungeon map work, and it's not bad. I don't know that Dave Arneson had this affinity for 45-degree angles in his dungeons. It just all over the place. So I'll show you guys what I mean here. Let me bring this up. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So you can see what I mean. Lots and lots and lots of angled corridors. So we have the main barracks and so on. Move this over a little so I can see it better. So there's your upper level. And then there's the second level of the dungeon, that Great Dwarf illustration by Dave Sutherland. So let's go to the second level of the dungeon and see what trouble we can get in down there. So what do you think so far, Yang?
I think I should have brought a party. No, it's an interesting setting. It's fun. Little tough when you're pretty squishy.
It is, and I'll tell you, this is not how I run D&D. Mm-hmm. I recommend a group of adventurers. So don't let this put you off gaming with us on the regular on Friday nights.
Oh, no.
So, this is, I'm kind of like Sergeant Zim in the terrible film version of Starship Troopers, I just like making an example out of you. I have immobilized the player's hand. Now he cannot attack the Medusae, thus eliminating the threat from my dungeon. But that's completely different. I almost thought Chris was saying always bring Conan fodder. Isn't everyone Conan fodder? But you see, I mean, 3 Medusae, thousands and thousands of gold treasure. I mean, if you had defeated them, that would have been like,
it would have been awesome.
Yeah, and I'm checking out now. Just narrate how I got out of the dungeon because I have more money than my character could ever possibly imagine having. 20 people, 25 people playing in this, and there's 5,000. It's like, oh great, that'll buy us all each like a month of ale in the end. So we need like 30 of those to make this adventure worth it, Dungeon Master.
Well, hey, a month of ale, that's not bad in and of itself.
One of the it is a serious, this is one of those moments in old gaming. Now, Yang, and my audience knows I am not I'm not afraid of a little bawd in a role-playing game. But in an early issue of The Dragon, there's a whole article on how you can help a party get rid of excess treasure by just periodically encouraging the players to have an orgy.
Nice.
It was the 1970s. It was a different time.
It was a magical era.
It was a magical era. So, I mean, and truly orgy covers a broad spectrum of activities, not just what is usually thought of. But
it could be a Roman orgy with
with
food and then wine, vomiting drugs, to eat more food, and
Exactly. Oh, and your Latin lesson for tonight. A vomitorium was not where rich Romans went and threw up their meals. It's an exit. It's the vomitorium is where the hoi polloi leave arenas and so on.
Interesting.
Um, but let's see. No, that's a little. Orgies come in all shapes and sizes, says Wave of Mutilation. Yes.
That's why you need more gold.
All right. So for the sake of this one, we're going to give you a flaming sword that strikes at +2.
Okay.
A +3 shield, and
Nice.
10 more hit points, because when you enter room 8, there are 4 trolls that prey on wandering rats and snakes in the area. And they see you enter their chamber, which is a long, narrow east-west affair with a flight of stairs you just came down into the second level of the dungeon. They are surprised, and you are not, for they were making a lot of noise. So 4 trolls.
4 trolls. And would he know that they have the specific weakness to fire?
Yeah, I mean, you've gotten all the way to hero level by learning a few things. So yes, you do know that.
Okay, and so I'm coming down the stairs, and they're like on a flat floor.
Yes, they are in their chamber. A couple are tossing a large sack of something back and forth, which you quickly discover is grain when one of them drops it, and it lands on the floor and bursts. And the one who was meaning to catch it said, "Oh, it broke. What do we throw back and forth now?" And then they all slowly look at you.
Okay, so I'm going to stay on the stairs. Okay. Am I like more than one level above them, or could they reach me on the stairs?
Well, you're pretty much just a few steps, and understand trolls are tall, they're quite tall, and rubbery, yeah.
Well, I guess my question is, I would like to limit their access so I don't have to fight 4 at one time.
You're not going. If you stay on the stairs, you're not going to. Only one at a time can get to you.
All right. So he's a smart guy, despite being ugly. So he will stay on the stairs. And since I have a round of surprise, I guess I'm going to try and pull out my bow and arrow and get a shot off at one of them before the others. Wait, sorry. Let me make one clarification. So in original D&D, can I, if I use my bow and arrow on my next turn, would I then have to spend the action drawing the sword and the shield? No. Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to try to shoot one of them with the bow and arrow.
All right, go ahead and fire. Your rate of fire, unless you are splitting move and fire, is 2 with your great bow. So you may take 2 shots, or you may shoot and then move, or move and then shoot.
I'm going to stay here because I want to take them on one at a time when they get closer.
Okay, are you spreading your shots between 2 or just shooting at 1?
I'm going to try to shoot at 1.
Alrighty, go ahead and take your shot then.
All right, so D20, right?
That is correct.
17.
That will hit, and it is a D6.
Okay. 3.
Okay, take your second shot.
16.
That will hit.
All right, and that is another 3.
Okay, so 2 arrows thud in, and the troll growls in pain and begins to yank the arrows out. The round of surprise is over for them. What are you doing in the next round?
I will wait here basically and attack when one comes in range with the sword.
The one that you shot is charging across the room at you.
All right.
He is enraged, and the others are hooting and yelling and raising hell. So he is going to charge across the room. You are going to strike with sword. Roll initiative for me.
3.
Okay. Since you're waiting for him to come rushing over and not going anywhere, he moves across the room. Now you may make your attack on him.
All right. So pulling out the sword, I'm gonna take a sort of a step back and swing into it.
All right.
Oh God, 6.
Okay. He stops short and jerks back with a rather distressing quickness and manages to not get hit. Let's see. And the others are crowding in, trying to get to you, but only the one can. I know what he will do in the next round. So let's go ahead and roll for initiative, because I'm assuming you're striking with your sword.
Oh yeah. All right. I got a 6.
All right, you will go first.
All right. Come on. More than a 10. Hey, 17.
17.
Stab it right in there.
That is a total of 20. So you are going to do a D6 plus 3.
Oh.
Because you have a flaming sword.
All right. 5. So 8
5,
total.
8. Well, you have to account for your strength also. So that's 9. And you had done 6 to him previously. He is in bad shape. Flames are bursting out of the wound on him, which is steadfastly refusing to close up. He is howling in pain and swatting at you with his great taloned hand with its black iron hard nails. But his pain is so great that all he can do is scream and flail about, missing you. New round. You're going to continue to melee.
Yeah. I am going to yell at him. Yell to the other ones. I'll give you something to play with. As I try to lop the guy's head off.
All right. Roll initiative.
4.
This dice is cursed. I need to get my better initiative die. You will go first.
All right. Come on, big number. 6. Painful.
6 total.
Yeah. 6 on the die plus
3 plus 7, so that's 10.
Yeah.
Let's see. You're a 4th level 10. No, that his tough hide manages to turn that, and he swats at you. He got closer, but only by a tiny bit. He misses you. Wave of Mutilation says, big shout out to everyone from Bunbury, West Australia, where it's Saturday morning. Good Saturday morning to you, Wave. All right. Well, the troll is continuing to hoot and raise hell, but he does miss you. Next verse, the same as the first.
Yeah, I got to try to take this guy out, man.
All right.
2.
He will go first this time. You can see that the damage that your arrows inflicted is fading, by the way. And he connects. He gets you on the backswing for 2 points of damage.
Okay. All right. I'll kind of yip in pain, and I'll give him a really dirty look as I try to swing my flaming sword.
All right.
No, it's 5.
Okay. All righty. So you're locked in Mortal Kombat. Your sword wound is not healing. The arrow wounds have healed. Because you did a total of 6. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and what was your damage before? 9?
I think so. Yeah, 9.
Yeah, it was 9.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that gash is still open and smoking and dripping black ichor. It's not healing up. let's initiative for the next round then.
5.
You will go first.
All right, this better be something good. 8 on the die, so I think that would make it
9,
a 12.
10, 11, 12. Let's see. You almost get the sword in that wound, but he kind of jerks and the point skitters off his rubbery hide. Even the fire isn't enough. And he lunges forward again. Let's see. Oh, I hate those. I'm going to have to look this up now.
Oh.
Let's see. That, unfortunately, is going to connect. He swats you for 2 more points of damage.
All right. Well, I got to try to take him out. I mean, I'm kind of stuck on these stairs now. So I guess I better swing again.
All right.
4 for initiative. Or no, wait. Was it? No, because I went first that last round.
You went first in the last round. Yeah. So initiative, you rolled a 4. He rolled a 1.
All right. Come on, die.
And for folks who might just be joining, we are actually playing a section of Temple of the Frog. What did you get?
16 on the die.
That will hit. So roll a d6.
All right. 1.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you take one of his arms clean off. He is in bad shape. He is in bad shape. He's screaming. The stump is cauterized. He's just looking at the arm, crisped and blackened, lying on the floor. His fellows are raising their hands. It's terrible. The stink of burning flesh fills the room. He swings at you with his good arm and does not connect. All right. You've got a severely weakened troll in front of you, and the others are cheering him on. And, you presume they're chanting his name.
I'm going to yell at him, "Here, let me give you a hand," as I swing it again.
All righty. Let's roll initiative.
4.
He goes first. And he misses.
Right.
I hate these dice.
16 again.
That will hit. Well, with the damage he's taken, even with just the slightest bit of damage rolled, you are able to make him char and die. And he stumbles back, another steaming wound opened in his chest, or if you wish to say his head is lopped off.
I'll lop the head off.
You lop his head off, and his long, pointy nose staring up at the ceiling as the faint, glowing green points of light in the back of the black pits of his eyes fade out forever. And the one nearest screams something incoherent and incomprehensible in Trollish at you and lunges forward to swat at you. And he hits you.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right.
He inflicts 1 point of damage. These dice are just not with me. I need to get this, the Fruit Punch D6 from the Holmes set that someone gave me that the other night was rolling just 5s and 6s. So
I'm going to yell and say, "You want some too? I'll give you some." And so rolling for initiative then?
We're rolling for initiative.
5.
2. You're fired. All right. Take your shot.
17.
That will hit. Roll your damage.
6. 6 on the die.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You just drive your sword right through his chest, and he screams in pain and swings back at you. God, what is with this D20? Missing again. All right. Second verse, same as the first, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
All right. Roll initiative.
5.
Roll to 3.
All right. So take a roll. Ah, crap! A 6 again. So that
Not
misses.
sufficient. Now, don't forget, you do have healing potions.
Yes. Yes.
Because you just took another point of damage.
Okay. I think for the moment, I just got to go and I got to try to get rid of one more.
All right. Let's roll initiative.
4.
3. Damn it! I told everybody you were like the die of death. You are clearly from my trolls.
10 on the die, so I think that'd make it like 14.
That should suffice to hit. Let me check out the alternate combat chart. Yes, that will hit.
Ooh, okay. And 5 on the die for damage. So that was 8.
Yes, and let me check the actual encounter. And this, by the way, folks, is room 8. If you're curious, if you're following along with your copy of Blackmoor, this is on page 44, just above the dwarf illustration, and this is room 8. And you had done 9, and you did 8 just now. Okay. You cut his belly open, greasy intestines spilling out on the floor. He's screaming in agony as your burning blade draws a slit across him. The wound not healing, but he is still alive. Lunges at you and strikes you for 2 points.
For 2 points. All right. Okay.
How many hit points are you down to?
I have 10 hit points now.
Okay. All right. Let's roll initiative then.
All right. I think I got to finish this guy off.
All right.
2.
He will go first.
All right. So.
And he just misses. He just misses you.
15 on the die.
That will kill him. So there's 2 left, and it's time to check their morale dice. So we check that through chainmail.
I'm going to yell at them. Yins, get out of here. I don't want to have to do that to you too.
All right. Given that they have taken half casualties and have had no success in injuring you other than scratching you a few times, they flee to the far side of the room and are holding up their hands and going, "Ah, ah, ah," trying to get away from that burning sword.
Okay. So I'm going to take this opportunity to pop one of those potions.
All right.
So 1d6. All right. So 2. I get 2 hit points back.
You quaff that quickly.
All right.
So the room is piled with junk, just heaps of broken things covered with straw that they were sleeping on. There are sacks in one corner that don't appear to have been used as bedding.
Does it appear like there's a way out of here?
Yes, this is essentially a long passageway. So you have passageway continues on past this area that they were layering in.
Okay, and so I have to kind of pass them, right?
Yeah, they're cowering against the wall back near one of the nests.
And I only see the other 2, right? I don't see anything else.
That is correct.
Okay.
There's 2 charred bodies on the floor and 2 that are like, got their hands over their heads and they're trying to not even look at you.
All right. I'm going to try to walk by but I'm going to walk by like on the hugging the opposite wall.
Okay.
And I'm going to have my sword out pointed to them and I'm going to be looking at them, make sure they don't get up. And I'm going to try to go past them.
All right. They are very intimidated and want nothing to do with you. All Are you stopping to look for any treasure, examining their stuff, or just moving past them?
I'm gonna give the room a quick once over, but I don't want to. I don't want to mess with the nest, and I don't want to get too close to them. I don't want to give them any reason to get brave and attack me. So I'll.
All right. Roll a d6, please.
6.
A 6. Okay. I will say that you can clearly see one of the bags is bulging with coins. You don't know what coins, but one of the bags is bulging with coins.
And is it one of the bags near them?
It is on the far side of them in the far corner of this gallery.
Like about how far? Like is it directly behind them, or is there a little space between them and the bag?
Let me look at the map. I want to give fair play, so let me take a look at the map. Okay, so I misdescribed this a little bit. This is a chamber off of the hallway.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
the little stairs down that lead to it. So fair play. I'm going to say that they've retreated to the southeast corner of the room, and the bag is in the northeast corner. So they'd be 30 feet away from it.
Well, it wouldn't be Dungeons and Dragons without looting gold. So I'm going to go for the bag. But okay. I'm going to keep my sword out and, keep pointing it at them. But I'm going to take that bag gold.
Okay. It is very heavy, but your 17 strength means you're only slowed by 10 feet a turn of progress. You can tell it contains hundreds of coins. What types of coins? You don't know, but you do have it.
I'm making a mental note to bring a porter on my next expedition.
There you go. So the corridor that you've come down to this room, as I'm assuming you're leaving them now?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, when you entered this chamber, it was off of a 4-way intersection. There was the corridor to the north behind you that you came down. The room on the left is the room you just fought in. There's a chamber on the right and a chamber directly ahead. Or you can turn around and go back the way you came.
I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be Medusa, but I'm going to try the one on the right.
Okay. Let's see.
I'll try to, if I can, I'll try to peer in through either the archway or the door.
Okay, so going back through the door. Let's see. And I will show the map area to this so folks can see it if they want, the second level of the dungeon. But going back to the door, the room on the right, it's almost identical in size to the other one, and likewise it is filled with junk.
So nothing catches my eyes in the junk?
No.
All right, then I will. And there's no way through it. It's just the single room.
It is. Yes, that is correct.
Can I check for secret passages real quick, or?
You certainly can. You do not. You do not find any secret passages.
All right, then I'll.
Oh. No, I was just going to say. You hear voices coming down from the north, saying very loudly, "What are those damn trolls up to?"
So I will kind of like go up. Can I tell about how far away they sound?
Let's see.
Essentially, I'm trying to figure out if I can get out of the room, go down to the south without them knowing I'm there.
You cannot tell how far away they are, just that their voices echoing in the hallway outside.
Can I tell how many voices there are?
You hear the murmur of many voices. Specifically how many, you don't know.
Great. Yeah, what am I wearing the monk's robes?
We'll say that you've gotten this far by donning some of their cloaks. You've got one of their ritual chains around your neck. Yes.
I am okay. So do I look a little bit injured?
Yeah.
All right. So
your healing potion is not. The scratches on your arms and face and everything have not availed you.
Okay. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna sheath the sword and kind of hide the shield as best as I can, and I'm going to make sure that the robe is on correctly, and I'm gonna go back in like that center of the quarter, and I'm gonna yell up the stairway. I'm gonna hail! These trolls, they don't attack me.
All right.
It'd be better if I had more charisma.
So you see a group of 5 priests of the Temple of the Frog, and they quickly jog down to where you're at. And the one that's in the front wears a device of a higher station. It is a ring. And he stops short, kind of. He's not sure if the way you look is because of your low charisma or your injuries. And he says, "What happened with the trolls? You were attacked, you say?"
They done sent me down here to go fetch some stuff out of this room, and them trolls don't attack me. They in the other room down there. Pointing back to the room with the trolls.
He says, "Highly dubious. The orders are to stay away from the trolls. They're useful weapons and patrols, or they're useful as weapons and for patrols. We don't interfere down here. Who gave you this order?"
That was Master Rock. You can see my face. Clearly, I've been scratched up.
He says, "Infidel, Master Rock would never give such an order. Brothers!" And he points to his side, and 2 of them, well, it's 10-foot wide corridor, so one to his left and one to his right. And he's moving back and starting to make mystical gestures with his hands. What are you doing?
So wait, sorry. How far away is that guy from me?
They ran right up to you. They were there.
Well, I mean, the guy who looks like he's casting a spell.
He's right up there. He's like getting out his symbol, which has the frog on it, and
I am going to try to lop off a hand. I mean, you got to get that guy first.
Fair enough. Okay. Let's see. Let's have a look at what the old acolytes of the Temple of the Frog, how they are typically arrayed. Let's see. All right. That's not the one I want. Let's see. Oh, come on. What would they be then? Let's see.
Pretty sure you could use the stats for peasants.
You think I could do that? Let's see. All right, so oh, I see. Okay. All right. It's not theurgists. So let's see. These guys. Well, you're not sure what they're wearing under their they're wearing under their cloaks. You never got close enough to see what they might have been wearing under their cloaks. So let's go ahead and roll initiative because they're already aware. The two to his left and his right are raising maces and they have small shields. But in the confined space of the hall, they can defend against you with a shield just fine.
Okay. 6.
You will go first, and you are striking at the priest in front of you.
Yes. 18.
That will hit. Roll your damage.
1.
1 plus 3 because it's a flaming sword, plus 1 because of your strength. He must have been a particularly sickly fellow because you are able to not only lop off his hands, but he dies from the shock of it. He just looks at the smoldering stumps and just falls over backwards. The others scream bloody murder at you, and the two strike. A third is leaping over his body at you. So there's a total of 4, but only 3 can reach you for attack. That is a miss. That is, let's see. You are in plates. He is, but you also have a shield. So his mace clangs off your shield, and the third one likewise is unable to strike you. So
is it a full action to drink a potion?
Yes, it is your entire action.
Okay, so can I move? How big are the doorways? Are they also 10 feet wide, or?
The doors are about, I mean, you got to take the jam and everything into account. So they're about 9 feet wide.
Yeah. All right. So then there'll still be 2 of them will still be able to attack me if I go through one, right?
Well, possibly as many as 3, but yes. Because they're man-sized, just like you.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to have to try to attack. I will attack whichever one seems easiest.
All right.
3.
For your initiative?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the majority of this lot seems very, very scrawny, rather like their leader. Trust me, you don't want to know how poorly I rolled on their hit dice. All right, so initiative. They, however, have the initiative, given weight of numbers. Miss, miss, and miss. They're drumming on your shield, just like your ears are ringing.
All right.
This is one of those cases, by the way, viewers, where weight of numbers would actually dictate that he would not roll initiative at all. Just that in chainmail, this many opponents versus him means they automatically win initiative. But I'm doing it the way the alternate combat system. So we're going back and forth with initiative, not by the chainmail rules. So go ahead.
All right. So that is a 7 on the die plus 4. I think we've been doing for 11 total.
11 total. Yeah, he's able to bring his shield up in time to repel you. They're trying to press forward. The one in the back is yelling at them, "Kill the infidel defiler! Drown him in a lake of his own blood!"
And
they seem very enthusiastic on doing that to you.
And I will yell back at them, "That ain't nice!" And I will attack again.
All right, roll initiative.
2.
It is a tie. Your sword will strike before their heavy maces.
Okay. 10 plus 4. So 14.
Will hit.
All right. And 4 on the die plus 3.
4.
So 7.
You have turned the acolyte into 2 half acolytes. Split in twain, he falls to the ground with a gurgling scream. His fellows are all leaping in at you. That's a miss. That is a miss. And that is a miss. 3 sevens. 3 sevens in a row.
So, he's getting a little cocky now. He just goes in for another attack.
All right.
2.
They will go first. They're looking a little less for certs than they were before. Oh, if you didn't have that shield, he would have kissed you right in the face with a mace. Miss. And a miss. All right. Counterattack.
All right.
And is this left, right, or center? Center is the one who is yelling for them. He jumped back into the fray.
Oh, yeah, then that guy. Right. So 8 on the die, plus 4, 12.
12. So let's see. Yeah, no, he just turns it with the shield, and they counter.
Didn't they go first this round?
They did go first this round. Thank you. I was about to say, wait, no, they went first this round. So yes, new round.
All right. I will take more swings at them. 2.
It is tied. Again, your sword goes before their maces.
All right. 16 plus 4 for 20.
That will hit. Left, right, or center?
Center.
All right.
And that will be 5 plus 3 is 8 damage.
You slay him outright. The other two, the other two are singing a death song, a death hymn, which it's froggy, okay. So it's croak, 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 croak. They're doing that Tuvon throat singing from Dune.
Ah.
I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Now that hurts. I'll take David Lynch's Dune anyway. Thank you. But if that scene was take that scene and put it in David Lynch's Dune. Now David Lynch's Dune is perfect. All right, so that's a miss. And that is a hit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of them swats you for 3 points of damage. Ow.
All right.
Alrighty.
I think now I am, hate to waste the round, but I am going to drink another potion.
All right, so you're getting your potion out in the next round, and they are trying to hit you in the next round. So roll initiative, and we'll see what happens.
1.
It is a tie. You're drinking, and they're swinging.
All right. So 3 for the potion.
Well, that is probably good because you take 2 points of damage.
Okay, so that would have put me up to 12 and then back down to 10.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now I am very cross with them. I'm going to look at whoever started singing and I'm going to attack that guy.
All right.
3 for initiative.
Five for initiative. Smashy, smashy. 1 and 6. Pair misses.
All right. So 19 plus 4 is 23.
You can roll damage if you want, but you don't have to.
I'm just gonna. He's just gonna stab that flaming sword right in the throat to make sure he never hears that singing again.
All right. Well, it stops forthwith. And the remaining man. All right. I know what he's doing in the next round. What are you doing in the next round?
I'm going to kill him. I can't let him escape. So if he's close enough, I'm going to use the sword.
Let's roll initiative.
5.
It is a tie. He drops his mace and turns to sprint away. You gain a 20% bonus to hit as he is fleeing. So roll to hit.
18.
That will hit. That will hit. Again, you needn't roll damage.
All right.
He has very few hit points, so you can finish him right there.
And I do.
All right. He falls to the floor in a smoldering pile.
Okay. So I am gonna.
And nothing comes to check out the noise immediately.
I am quickly gonna search the bodies, focusing on the magic caster.
All right. So the one who was preparing. Let us see. They all have fairly standard stuff. Little bit of Black Lotus in a bag on their hip.
I'll take that for sure.
Cheap costume jewelry, earrings through their ears, wooden frog holy symbols.
Grab
this fellow, all right. This fellow has, let's see. He has a let's see. He does have a golden ring that is hewed out of some kind of a dark green jade on his finger, and it has the temple sigil on it as well.
I think you mean I have a golden ring.
Jade.
Jade ring.
So you have his jade ring. You are once again beaten and battered. You have some unknown amount of gold pieces in an enormous sack on your back, and a bunch of dead guards, a bunch of dead temple guards lying around your feet.
Okay, so before anyone comes down, I am going to take the guards and the priest, and I will drag their bodies and throw them off the stairs in the troll room.
Okay. All right, you toss them in the room with the trolls.
And then after that, I think the smart thing would be to leave the temple with my booty, but I'm going to go down that south path.
Okay, the southern passage, it opens into a room that is similar to the eastern and western rooms. Junk filled, 30 by 20. The door into it opens on the long wall. So, it's 30 feet wide, 20 feet deep, and full of refuse and garbage.
Do I see any secret doors? Can I find any of those?
You can spend a while searching for secret doors.
Yes.
After a careful search, you do not locate any secret doors, and nothing comes looking for you.
Well, there was nothing in the troll room and nothing in the other two, so I guess I'll have to go back to the north.
Okay. All right. So going back to the north. Back to the north towards the exit, or back to the north towards danger?
I'm there to kill the brothers, right?
Yes, and you have killed some of them, to be sure.
I think I'm going to go back to safety and buy some help.
Okay.
And heal.
So that is north to
Mhm.
another intersection. And just as this is essentially a play test, as it were, we will assume that you've been mapping so that you don't get lost in this place. We will make a couple of checks, though, just to see if there's one or two more wandering monsters in your path.
It's going to be Medusa, isn't it?
No, you make your way back up to the to the upper level, and let's see. Let's have a gander.
Thanks, James.
Iron Goal. Tally says, "Ooh, Bill, sorry. The answer we're looking for was second only to the Villeneuve version. Is this director's third major motion picture?" Now, let me tell you something. I like Denis Villeneuve. I loved Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner is my favorite film of all time. It is literally like Blade Runner, and like if Blade Runner is a perfect 10, the first Star Wars movie is like a 9.999. And I consider Blade Runner 2049 part of Blade Runner. Like it's not two separate films as far as I'm concerned. Sicario. Have you seen Sicario, Yang?
I haven't seen Sicario.
Dear God, spend the weekend watching that movie. Why are you speaking to me? Why are you not watching Sicario right now? Sicario is it. First of all, it is an utterly black film. Leave any sense of hope or like, oh, cool, I'm going to watch an action movie and the righteous good people are going to win. No. Nope. Set that aside and watch the movie and then talk to me about it later, because Sicario is awesome.
All right.
I have heard nothing but good things about Villeneuve's Dune, but let's get one thing perfectly clear here. David Lynch's Dune is a friggin' masterpiece. So
can't go wrong with cat milking.
So, all right, okay, it had flaws. But Brad Dourif, man, come on. As Peter DeVries, go. Just everybody choose the scenery in that movie, and it is fantastic for it. Just amazing. And I think we can all agree that the Sci-Fi Network Dune adaptation was garbage. It looked like it was filmed in a warehouse in Prague.
Oh, I never even knew they made one. Yeah,
you didn't miss anything. Tally says Sicario was funny. I shudder to think what you think is a bleak action movie. But anyway, these freaking sorry, I'm dealing with a lot of spam bots. So you make your way out and you make your way up. Your stairs come out. Well, you know what? You've got the ring and the robe.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone, you walk straight through the main barracks of like 250. Well, let's see. You'd come up and then around and then out. Yeah. Getting out with the sergeant's ring on your finger. We'll roll a d20, and on a 1, somebody stops you. I rolled a 2.
Okay.
So you are able to walk out of the temple, ring on your finger. If alarm is raised, it is not while you're there. You're able to make it down to the what was the river here? You're able to make it down to the great swamp of Mill, where a boatsman was waiting for you, and he takes you on to further journeys. That's just a little sample of Temple of the Frog, guys. It is that there are deeper depths to Temple of the Frog with traps and tougher monsters. Now, I got to give it to Yang, really, honestly. I mean, trolls in OD&D regenerate, but they don't have the 3 attacks. Yep. It's a claw bite. Although I might have used Greyhawk, where there are true trolls that do get the 3 attacks. I was using trolls from OD&D that regenerate but only get 1 attack of a D6. You were only doing 1 attack of a D6. But just to make this stream more than just a series of your character died, roll up another one. Your character died, roll up another one. I bumped you up a couple of levels and gave you a magic weapon, and you did pretty good. But if you'd said, no, I'm going to rush upstairs and rip this robe off and say, come at me, fuckers. 250 acolytes later, and a bunch of them casting spells at you. So what did you think of your first venture into the Great Swamp or into the Temple of the Frog?
I liked it. I was not a fan of the Medusae, but no, it was a good temple. I liked the dungeon, lots of variety. I do think more people would have helped in it, kind of make it more fun. But yeah, it seemed nice. Yeah, I don't disagree. Well, that's why I was asking about the door jam, but it just seemed too big. I don't think I could have done that. But next time I will use a door as a shield.
So James talking about should have smashed him with a door. He's in the Tuesday night AD&D game, and way back early when the game started, the party found the form of an iron golem en foam, attacked her while she was sleeping. The party fled. She didn't pursue them beyond the room that she was in. And then the dwarf ran back into the room, ripped the door off the hinges, ran back into the room, and brained her with the door. Whereupon I think I described it as she basically grabbed the dwarf and bodily crushed him into a metal pail in the room. Like literally just like, you remember that horrible like Wi-Fi internet connected thing, the Juicero?
Oh yeah, yeah.
2015. Yeah, she basically Juicero'd the dwarf and set him aside, and the party was like, well, I say the party, the one surviving member at that point. So that's just a little taste of the first dungeon adventure module for those of you who are interested. The rings are kind of interesting to note, and this goes a little bit into Dave Arneson's design mindset, but they're not really atypical for Dungeons and Dragons, AD&D, or I would think anyone comfortable with 5th edition could play this. I mean,
sure.
What is your first AD&D, or what your first AD&D? What is your first D&D, Yang?
Oh, well, that's a funny story because I was born several years too late to get in on D&D when it was starting up. And I was young during like the dark days when you basically had to be real secretive when you were trying to ask someone if they played Dungeons and Dragons because you didn't want to get the crap beat out of you at school for being the nerd who played Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So I actually had all the books or the hand guide, the DM guide, and monster manual for D2 for the
Okay.
second edition.
Okay.
But I just couldn't find anyone to play with me. So actually, 5th edition is the first time I ever really got to play a whole D&D game.
Well, now you've gotten to play at least part of a D&D game,
Mhm.
and you've gone all the way back to OD&D plus a supplement. We don't judge here at the Delver's Dungeon. We're not going to call you out for whatever beliefs you have, no matter how wrong-headed they might be. Now, having played OD&D, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things about 5e that I don't think work that well. I understand why you would roll once for initiative and that's it for the combat. It's meant to streamline things, but that just tells me that combat itself is too bloated. I like the variability of rolling every turn.
Sure. And I mean, regardless of what game you're playing, I don't care if you're playing Parcheesi or Sorry or shooting craps out, in the schoolyard, whatever you're doing, who doesn't like getting a hot die?
Yeah, exactly.
5, 6, 5, 6, a 4, but you only rolled a 3. That's so much fun. Just like, a D20 and I have advantage. Haha, our party goes first, it's like.
Plus there's sort of a problem with 5e, which is like your players will build up so much of one stat or one ability, and since there's not as much rolling, not as much variability, like as a DM, you have to inflate all of the enemy stats to go with that, and that just seems it defeats the purpose of the players having better stats.
It does. It does.
You just need to level it out anyways.
And I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but magic items aside, the stats your character has in this game I'm running, they're fixed in amber now. Your charisma will never get better.
Yep.
You are at 4. It's like, well, I'll just put points into it. I don't know. I don't care what points you put into it. Miss Manners does not live in the world of Greyhawk or the world of Blackmoor to help you stop picking your nose and eating it in front of the queen.
Yeah.
And as I always say, for your benefit and for anyone else listening, charisma is not looks. You can have a character who's as good looking as Brad Pitt or as hot as I don't know who the current it girl is. I mean, I still think Jane Seymour is good looking. What do I know? But but if your charisma is a 4, you don't know not to fart in polite public, or again, picking your nose and eating, or you just like, you speak and you spit when you talk, and you don't meet people's gaze and give them the dead fish when you shake hands, or just whatever. Charisma is not solely physical looks. It's largely physical looks, but it's not solely physical looks. But to go back to what you were saying about stats, that's it. That is it. And as much as I praise Gary for the creation of D&D and having the stats stay as they are, I mean, we can fault him because a lot of the creep comes in at the other end of what I consider original Dungeons and Dragons, which entails, for the sake of this discussion, OD&D, the introductory set by J. Eric Holmes, the 2 versions of Basic, and first edition Advanced D&D. At the end, Gary has introduced the Cavalier. Guess what? Their stats can increase. And it's not a miraculous thing. It's just when they level up, their stats get better. Yeah. So, got to praise Gary for this, but I also got to condemn him for this. So the power creep really did start. And I have met people who will straight up say, and those of you who know the fellow who I'm talking about, the power creep started right here in Supplement 1, Greyhawk. The first splat book released for Dungeons and Dragons was when the power creep started. And I think there's some merit to it, but but the way you find your character now, and I would certainly, If you came to me and said, "Hey, Bill,
Mhm.
I love this. I can get 4 or 5 people at this time of night on a given night a week. Will you please run an OD&D game for us over Discord or whatever?" I would not let you use. I would let you use those character stats, but I have a flaming sword. I'm 5th level.
That would change.
Extra potion. We'd have to check that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we'd start you back out at that level. And I think what people find, and I've said this a lot, when I run original D&D and even first edition AD&D as event games,
Mhm.
and they play it, it blows their mind how unfettered it is. I mean, the culmination of a dungeon adventure I ran was the party surviving a very close quarters battle with an ogre. Everybody in the room was down, injured, unconscious, except for the magic user. Now you might think magic user versus ogre. In OD&D, all weapons do 1d6 damage. So the ogre is attacking with a meat cleaver.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's getting a bonus to damage, which is why so many people had fallen. But the magic user is not getting hit, and the magic user keeps hitting him with his staff. And ogre has 4 hit dice. They were 4 mediocre hit dice. And after 4 or 5 rounds of melee combat, the magic user stove the ogre's head in.
Cool.
And the players were elated. I didn't know a magic user could do that. Well, there you go. I said I wanted to run a magic user. I thought I'd have a bunch of spells to cast, and I just had 1, but I beat the ogre, and that was awesome. And I was like, there you go. It literally, older D&D is just kind of open-ended that way. So, horses for courses. I'm certainly never going to pick on someone to their face anyway about what edition of D&D they prefer to run. But the more, I mean, and folks, you can get this edition of D&D. You can go out on the internet and you can find this on DriveThruRPG or DM's Guild. You can get the whole original D&D set for $9.99, I think. It may be more. And then you can print it yourself, or you can get a print on demand. You can go to Lulu and have it printed up. And start playing OD&D. There's, you don't have to go spend $1,000 on an OD&D box set on eBay. You can get it right now. You can get it tonight, and you can start playing OD&D. And I think you'll find that it's loads of fun. It really is. So I'm glad we got to see some Temple of the Frog, and I'm glad you got to game with us before even we get into Gamma World, which is, it's funny when you were talking about Gamma World and AD&D, and you thought Gamma World. So there, and we're playing in Blackmoor, Temple of the Frog, or with Holmes. Joshua, you bring up a good point there with the J. Eric Holmes, but I don't know if the J. Eric Holmes rules are currently available through drive-through. If they are, correct me on that, but I don't know that they are. But so I'm not sure if you saw the previous episodes, but in Men and Magic, let me see. Is it in here? It's not. Monsters and Treasures. Let's see. Underworld and Wilderness Adventure. Okay. So this is from the Underworld and Wilderness Adventure for your benefit, Yang. Mm-hmm. Other monsters to consider depending on the level and surroundings: giant crabs, leeches, octopi, crocodiles, squids, sea monsters, nixies, mermen, griffins, pterodactyls, rocks, invisible stalkers, cyborgs, robots, androids.
Cool.
Right out of the gate, they're talking about including sci-fi elements. Blackmoor, the land under black ice, Dave's is, as far as I understand it, Dave's overall plot thing was that the black ice is created by radiations from the engines of a starship that crashed on his game world ages ago, and then a glacier formed over it.
Interesting.
In the module S3 Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, that's an entire spaceship. The whole adventure takes place on a spaceship that's crashed on Greyhawk.
Cool.
So there's a lot of science fiction in AD&D if you know where to look, and in original D&D. Dave Arneson came back to TSR after the rift between he and Gary to recreate the Temple of the Frog and successive modules that explored the science fiction elements. By the time you get, I think it's DA3, City of the Gods, the cover is just pure science fiction. It's like jet fighters flying through a huge technological city. So there's plenty of room in any D&D really to throw a little bit of science fiction or a lot of science fiction, and it crops up in interesting ways. I don't want to spoil it all, but it's in there if you know where to look. So we're just to have a quick to go down a little bit more, because I did promise the viewers we talk a little bit more about this. You got time to hang around? I understand. Sure. It's okay.
Sure, no problem.
So yeah, we're looking here at the rest of Blackmoor, and let's see. I'll bring this up here. Where is it? There we go. I'll put you in a corner for a second. Right. So we have this lizard man, or something equally horrible, about to go after an adventure in David Sutherland drawing. But we have the beginning sort of the underwater adventures. Mythology is replete with tales of sunken cities, ships laden with loot, and the like. Every warm-blooded adventurer dreams of finding Mu, Lemuria, Atlantis, or some such other treasure trove. But no undertaking is done lightly. No such undertaking is done lightly. The perils of the deep are varied and deadly. The following data is presented to allow the incorporation of these possibilities with existing dry land campaigns. Just how it is blended is left to the discretion of the referee. Now, I don't know if that is actually what Dave Arneson wrote, because I know Tim Kask had to edit this. So I don't know if Arneson was reticent to include actual instructions, or if he specifically said, it's up to you, referee. So I don't know if that's Tim basically throwing us up his hands and say, look, I don't have any guide on how to do this. So this is merely a presentation of data to enable just such an occurrence. Keep in mind, one thing to keep in mind is that any but magic users will find it extremely hard to function. Magic users have access to spells that enable them to breathe underwater, change their form, etc. So yeah, we're getting already into the effects of water, which are expanded on in AD&D, but it basically it improves on the underworld and wilderness adventures a bit here. Fantastic terrain types. Just as with dryland adventures, not all that meets the eye is kosher. Tricks for the unwary should be included to keep the party wary. Illusion walls, false sea floors, phantasmal images of sunken ships, and magically shifted terrain are all recommended. It should also be remembered that all seaweeds are not beneficial. And then we've got sailing encounter matrices, Portuguese man of war, dolphins, all these various unpronounceable creatures. Steve Marsh invented this thing, the Ixitzichil, and his daughter has a YouTube video where she explains how to say this, and I still can't get it right. Sahuagin, Sahuagin, I don't know. And sages are introduced, believe it or not, here. So we can consult sages now in D&D. You could have gone to you can take your 300 gold pieces to a sage and say, "Hey, is it safe for me to go back in by myself into the Temple of the Frog?" He'll gladly take your 300 gold pieces and say, "No." But yes, this is where we get sages. So from Blackmoor, we get assassins, monks, and sages. Although sages are not playable. This is where they came from. So riddle me this, and maybe some of you guys who are out there watching, are assassins a thing in D&D still?
I think they are, actually. I think they're in the player's hand guide. They have a little thing in the back where you have like common characters.
Okay.
I think so. I'd have to double check.
Now, this is an interesting point because this has not come up in AD&D, but it says anyone who attacks or kills a sage is automatically changed to chaotic alignment unless the sage himself was chaotic. Sages are able to cast curses when close to death or dying because of assault or mayhem or murder. The power of the curse depends upon the knowledge of the sage. A very low-level one might curse a person so that all his teeth fall out. A low-level one, your teeth all fall out. While a very high-level one could curse you so as to never be able to make a saving throw again.
Oh.
A normal curse removal would not work to remove a sage's curse, but some form of cleric-assisted assigned quest might. And there's disease here. Sickness and disease have killed far more people than war, and heretofore this fact has been glossed over. The disease chart is only applicable if the disease is determined to exist. Exceptions: advanced leprosy, spotted fever, crud, the grip. So the grip, basically anything. It's like covers, minor occurrences as colds, flu, bellyaches, etc. Optionally, it can be used as the chaotic reverse of a cure light wounds or bless spell. Bubonic plague, dysentery, cholera, malaria, smallpox, tuberculosis, typhus. Woo, it just goes on and on and on and on. And I think this is duplicated also. Well, I know there's a disease table in AD&D. How about diseases? Are diseases in 5th edition?
Yes and no. I don't think they're like that. I know that there's one, Tomb of Annihilation has like Chultan malaria, basically. But, diseases are actually one of my pet peeves in modern, most modern role-playing games, but especially D&D 5e, is that, people play as if there's no diseases in the world. And it seems like that should be a far more common feature with monsters. Like so many animals in our world, if you get bit, you risk infection.
Mm. Yeah. And I mean, it's weird because it's never come up. I mean, it's literally, it has never come up. But every time I've run Slave Pits of the Undercity, the fantastic kickoff to that module series, I roll for disease chance. Because the characters spend most of their time in the latter half of the module wading through sewers. I don't care how fantastical your adventure is, somebody's going to come out of that with typhus.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that ties into my problem with herbology. Having that as like a skill or something the characters are into. There's very little guidance on like how people actually used herbs. So it's like anyone who would have like an interest in that or a skill, depending on the edition you're playing, it always ends up just being like you find some magic herb or it's some like fantasy version of pot. There's never like, oh well, if you actually did get this disease, you would use such and such an herb, which would actually make that skill very valuable.
Right. Yeah, no, I concur. I agree with you. Anyway, the book wraps up with just an absolutely gorgeous illustration of Chimera there by Dave Sutherland. D&D players at this point were getting a taste of some just drop dead gorgeous artwork from Dave Sutherland. And we're going to see more of that popping up when we get into the next supplement 3, Eldritch Wizardry. And this is when they add a blower kit, dual quads, and nitrous injection to original D&D in terms of fantastical stuff. And to spoil it a little bit for those of you who might not be that knowledgeable about original D&D or about older versions of D&D in general, to this point, we don't have demons or devils in D&D. And I know a lot of people, and this may raise some hackles. Bounce my face off my mic. This may raise some hackles, but I'm going to say that as much as people have told me, oh man, the only D&D book I need is the rules compendium, and it's just everything I need. And I say it's bland, and that gets people irate. Look, I wouldn't say that if they had included demons and devils. If they had put demons and devils into later versions, later basic versions, like Frank Menser's basic versions and the rules compendium, if demons and devils had been in there, I wouldn't say they were bland. But the fact is, I mean, demons and devils, no pun intended, are a hell of a cool thing to have in your D&D games. They really are. Now, I think you can overdo it. I think once the lid was off with what do they call them? I know cambions show up in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but as monsters. But once it was everybody and their brother plays a tiefling now. It's like, oh, I'm a tiefling artificer and I have a tragic backstory. I don't care. I feel like what's her name in Clue? That's my second reference to that tonight. Flames, anger shooting off the side of my face. But it's very much an overused and worn out trope. Yeah. But at this point in history, in 1976, 75, right about then, when Supplement 3, Eldritch Wizardry hits, that is a mind-blowing thing. And it's the book you keep away from mom and dad because it has demons, it has devils, they all have names, and it talks about hell and the abyss, and it has more titties in it than any of the previous OD&D books. So we'll get into that next week. I hope you guys have appreciated the overview of Supplement 2 Blackmoor. Now, if you're going to run OD&D, my recommendation is use Greyhawk. If you're not going to run straight OD&D and you're going to use Greyhawk and you're going to use Blackmoor, don't use those godforsaken to hit location charts and hit points per body part charts unless you just want to. We would still be fighting the Medusa fight.
Yeah.
If we were doing like hit locations and stuff like that. Or if we'd gotten to the troll fight, because you did expire fairly quickly against the Medusa. You'd still be working on troll number 1.
Yeah.
You stab it in the heart, but its body isn't where all of its hit points are. And just don't use those tables in Blackmoor. So that's what we'll start covering next week, though, is Eldritch Wizardry. Warning, psionics within. Now, I have heard two stories about psionics. I don't know if psionics are kind of a sticky subject with a lot of people. There's two things you can do to fix psionics, and I've talked about this in the past when I've talked about AD&D. One, put psionics in normal combat rounds. In AD&D, and I think in OD&D, psionics all happen in a split second before combat begins. But the thing about it is, nothing happens in a split second. Mm-hmm. You have to roll dice. I have to roll dice. I have to consult charts. I have to tell you results. You have to make notes. I have to make notes. Then we do that back and forth. And if there's one person at the table who is psionically enhanced, everybody else is sitting there twiddling their thumbs while you and I have a mind war. If you include it like spell casting, then everything goes normally. The other thing is the psionic discipline. I think it's a cellular alteration. Just get rid of it. Don't allow it, because it basically allows you to heal someone for how many ever damage points equal to the number of psionic points you want to spend. And even a layperson, low level character is going to have a minimum of 101 psionic points, and those psionic points regenerate even during strenuous activity. So at that point, healing is out the door.
Yeah.
So don't allow cell adjustment. Put psionics in normal combat rounds. Don't allow cell adjustment. Bam! I just fixed psionics forever. Again, I will have to defer to other people's knowledge. Psionics in later editions. I know that like in 3rd edition, there was like a whole separate hardback, which told me they either did it really right or really wrong, but I never looked at it.
It's interesting. 5th edition is just kind of weak. It's just like another form of magic. Like you would have arcane for wizards, you would have divine magic for clerics and druids and stuff. So they kind of like, it wasn't there in the beginning. There were a few creatures that had psionic abilities, but it just functions as another kind of attack.
Well, I'm actually kind of okay with that, because that's kind of like what I'm talking about, putting psionics into combat.
So that's fixed, but then it's like, but it's just like, okay, you cast fireball, but you cast it with your mind instead of with like arcane energy or energy from your deity. So it's like, it's just kind of superfluous. I mean, I don't know why you just wouldn't flavor it that way, in the way that you describe it. It's I don't know, adding a 6th finger, like, okay, but you don't really need it.
Oh, I gotcha. See, one of the nice things, and we'll jump over to AD&D real quick here, is psionic disciplines are mostly different from spells. You've got just going down the list, body equilibrium, body weaponry, cell adjustment, which we don't talk about cell adjustment, domination, make your own dirty joke there, expansion, mind over body, molecular agitation, object reading, precognition, sensitivity to psychic impressions, suspend animation. And I skipped over a bunch that are copies of spells, but those are just the minor devotions. And the major sciences, you get things like body control, energy control, mass domination, mind bar, molecular manipulation, molecular rearrangement, probability travel, telepathic projection, shape alteration. And if
there's none of that. I was going to say there's none of that. It's basically just, certain spells are available to you that they say fall in that. And the only difference is like, if I have like a, I don't know, like Scorching Ray spell, but if it's psionic, then that is technically psionic damage instead of fire damage. So if you have resistance, meaning you would cut the damage in half to fire, that wouldn't count towards that because it's, psionic. So it's just, unfortunately, to me, that's the biggest problem that's happening with 5e is it's just like everything can, it's just like, okay, it's just one more version of something you have. There's not anything unique being added to it.
So it's not, it doesn't sound.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound interesting. I mean, psionics, whether they're in ODD or ADD, and love them or hate them, are at least flavorful.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they just sort of everything is like, when 5e first came out, you can see a clear distinction, like this class is sort of more aligned to this role and, some other classes aligned towards another one. But as we go along and they make more and more new like subclasses, it's just like there's almost no point, like this cleric subclass plays like a druid. Well, why wouldn't you just play a druid at that point? So it's hard to say like how much demand there is for this versus like, I think in some ways it almost seems like people want an official Wizards of the Coast thing to say the way that they're home brewing it is okay, because a lot of the changes, it's like, well, if I'm your DM and you're like, well, I want to play this character this way, but I want to have it all come from their mind, I'd be like, okay, like that's just how we reflavor it. And if there's like you need a spell component or something, we'll come up with some equivalent way to work that into it. But it's kind of weird.
So you then would not say that the biggest problem facing 5e right now is the fact that Wizards wants you to play as a fucking barista in an adventure?
I think that's a symptom of the problem. But, I don't. Okay, so first of all, I thought that was a joke. Actually, I was talking to Ishii after my show last night, and he was asking me about that, and I was like, what? I thought that was just something that people made up. I don't know who that Strixhaven campaign is for. It's basically so you want to play Harry Potter.
My channel.
I mean, but it's like for people who want to play Harry Potter, and it's weird because the brilliance of D&D is you get to be more heroic than you are in your normal life. I have not fought Medusae unsuccessfully or successfully in my real life, but I could for those few minutes. Why would I want to be a barista? And I think a lot of the people playing it, are maybe have not picked the best college majors and they're working as baristas to try to pay it. And maybe that's where they're going to spend the rest of their life. Like, why in your fantasy world would you do that? Like, are your fantasies that small? It's weird.
Yeah. I said, I posted about this on the Discord, and I know my viewers are like, God, you've gone over this already. Enough. Shut up, viewers. Valued, lovely viewers whom I kiss your feet and worship. Shut up. But Leiber, Vance, Tolkien, Howard. No, just throw them out. No, let's talk about Latte. Let's and look, if you told me, okay, in my fantasy city that's called, or my fantasy whatever university that's called Strixhaven, there's a the Smiling Merwoman coffee company, and blah blah blah. Here's some details. I'd say, oh, okay, yeah, because my God, the one of the lowermost levels of Greyhawk, Castle Greyhawk, Tim Kask put a McDonald's in it. He was like, monsters got to eat somehow. I'm saying there's a McDonald's on this level. And that's fine. But I do want to clarify a couple of things about baristas and bad hair dye, rather than Dungeons and Dragons. That's a third party thing. That Wizards themselves did not publish it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the DM's Guild basically, Wizards was like, we approve of that.
Well, but in all fairness, they approve of whatever will break them 50%, because I believe DM's Guild is 50% of whatever the take of your selling goes to Wizards of the Coast. So, it's not like, I don't know that anybody from Wizards of the Coast was actually like, they were probably like, okay, are there a lot of boobs? No. Are there, offensive words? No. And then they're like, okay. But it does not surprise me. Okay, that it makes a little more sense to me now that it's on DM's Guild. But there's people like that. I remember I was talking to someone on Twitter, and yes, it was Twitter, and she was going on about like how it's terrible that men would play as a female character. And I wrote, and I was like, don't you think it'd be interesting to, even in a fantasy, live the life of someone who you don't have the experience of in real life? You can be anything. If you're a woman, why not try living as a man? That might be, more exciting for you. You can have any orientation that you like. You don't have to be human. That's the whole point of fantasy. Like, why would I want to be myself? Like, why would I want to play a game where I have to go into the office from 8 until 5 and make sure I'm back within 1 hour for my lunchtime and, fill out reports all day long? It's like, But why? I do that already and I get paid. Why would I want to do it for free in my spare time?
I know. I know just how you feel. And I'm going to say this about the whole issue of playing another gender at the D&D table. This is what I said. So this came up on Facebook, and this goes all the way back to here. I don't care how much of a grumpy grognard you want to be. It goes all the way back to original Dungeons and Dragons. Look, I have never been fortunate enough to play for a long period without having to DM when D&D is being played. So consequently, I'm the DM all the time, which means running the world of Greyhawk, there's basically upwards of 1 billion people living in here. And at any moment, anyone may ask one of these people to come forward and converse with them. Mm-hmm. Could be a male, could be a female, could be a guy, could be a girl, could be an elf maiden, could be an elven king. And I've got to, on the spot, do that. Okay. I have played more women than most gamers have had hot meals. So, somebody saying, oh man, that guy is running a girl character. What's wrong with him? I'm like, I'm a DM. I have 500 million girl characters that I have to run at any given time. And it's been that way since 1974. I promise you that, Gary play tested D&D with his daughters. I promise you there was more than one princess that they encountered along the way. So as grumpy as an old grognard as I am, if you said you could pick one role-playing game to continue to exist and all the others go away, I'd be like, AD&D, sorry, the rest of y'all got to go. The rest of y'all got to go. I have no problem with it, and I have no problem with a player who does it. The only players I have with a problem who do it are the ones who use it as like a creep angle.
Yes.
You know, the Kyle, my buddy Kyle calls it the lesbian ninja stripper, drow lesbian ninja stripper.
Yeah.
You know, the guys that show up and want to run that, I'm like, could you not? You know, could you not? That's just, and they're usually generally people like that are such poor role players to begin with that they kind of invite themselves away from the table. Whenever everybody decides they're sick and tired of it. So that aside, I just wanted to say, yeah, I have to run every NPC in a game, and a lot of them are women, and a lot of them are men.
Yep.
And I carry that burden. So don't come to me and tell me you're weirded out by a guy running a woman or a girl running a male character. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I'm not a horse, and yet for some of my moves on a chessboard, I pick up a little piece that looks like a horsey and I move it around.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too is in 5e they've gone sort of off the rails, and they have so many like anthropomorphic characters. Like if you could be a half elephant, half man, like what's the big deal about being, you know, a woman?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, we can discuss those revolting degenerate furries another time. But Alan makes a point here. He says it's marketing. Wizards wants to allow players to see themselves in the game about diversity and making it more inclusive. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. We've been playing OD&D tonight. I challenge anyone to play OD&D. And Alan, I'm not jumping on you, by the way, and I'm not saying that you're wrong or, you know, that what you're saying is inherently wrong. Don't misunderstand me. But there's no part of Dungeons and Dragons that has ever said, look, I'm sorry, you know, if you don't pass the envelope test, this RPG is probably not for you. You know, if you had to get like, you know, a friend who has sight to read you the rule book and tell you your dice rolls, maybe the fantasy adventure tabletop is not your jam. You know, I'm just saying it has been the opposite. It has always been the opposite. It has always been the opposite. I'm going to read this now because Alan has triggered me. This is from Mike Carr, who edited the Player's Handbook and did the introduction. And I do not think for a minute that Gary would have allowed this, if he didn't believe it wholeheartedly, to be printed in the book on page 2. You see this before you even see anything that Gary wrote. And that's how important it is. And this is the foreword. Players, and more players. That's what comprises the D&D phenomena. It doesn't say guys. It doesn't say girls. It just says players. And phenomenal is what it is as the audience for this, the granddaddy of all role-playing games, continues to expand. And here's where we get to the money shots. D&D players happily come in all shapes and sizes, and even a fair number of women are counted among those who regularly play the game, making Dungeons and Dragons somewhat special in this regard. Right there, they claim exclusivity, even to the point of claiming it over other games. This widespread appeal cuts across many boundaries of interest and background, which means that D&D players are marked by a wide range of, now put your 5-point harnesses on, make sure your helmet chin straps are buckled down, and that you have your hands on the eject handle if the next word I say is too hot for you to handle. Diversity. D&D players are marked by a wide range of diversity. In fact, one could easily use the analogy that there are many types of D&D players as there are D&D monsters. After that, draw your own conclusions. There are unquestionably fast players, slow players, clever players, foolish players, cautious players, reckless players, generous players, greedy players, friendly players, and obnoxious players. As now, I'm going to have to say the D word again. Diverse as this melange of enthusiasts is, they all seem to share one commonality: a real love for Dungeons and Dragons and a devotion that few other games can claim. Right there,
yeah,
in black and white. D&D has never not been 100% inclusive. You may run into shit DMs. They abound. They're unfortunately as numerous as good DMs. Not at the same ratio, fortunately. But the fact is, it was never baked into D&D that diverse people can play the game. Quite the opposite.
Yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine Gary hanging around the dungeon hobby shop and, a kid in a wheelchair comes in and somebody behind the counter says, "Hey, do we really want him playing D&D? I mean, has he really got the perspective?" Gary would have strangled that person right there on the sales floor, and I would have liked to have seen it too. But man, D&D has always been diverse. Always. From the outset. It has always been that way. So.
Yeah, and I do think that there's one other thing going on with Wizards of the Coast too, and that's that they're really trying to transition Dungeons and Dragons into a lifestyle brand.
Mm-hmm.
And by lifestyle brand, you're making everything the most generic, which is so. Like if you look at the proposed changes to 6e, if you look at them individually, they're not really that bad. Well, we're gonna say orcs don't have to be evil. Okay. Like how many of us homebrewed, where orcs aren't necessarily evil. That in and of itself is not such a big deal. The problem is, in order for it to be a lifestyle brand, they need to make things as generic as possible.
Yes.
So whereas you could have a campaign where all 5 people are playing fighters, but all of us would flavor our character in a different way, so that they all seemed different, as you're playing the game, but they want to make it as generic as possible. And, you could look to comic books for this. Like, they're giving everybody a shield and calling them a Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing the same thing. Like everybody's got an Iron Man suit. They've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 Hulks now. And it's just becoming like, well, this is a Hulk, and anybody can be a Hulk. But it really strips the comics of the originality that, this was one singular thing. So, and it's the same thing when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, this is my character. I'm going to flavor this character in my own way. So my character seems unique. And a lot of it is trying to strip that out of it. And I think that's, it's good for a lifestyle brand, not so great for gameplay.
Yeah. No, and you're right. There's been a lot of speculation, and I think it's wrong-headed speculation. I don't think this is a thing that's happening at all. That that Hasbro is giving WotC marching orders to make D&D so lifestyle brand friendly so they can bundle it up and sell it. Guys, calm down. All right. Hasbro is not going to sell Wizards. They're simply not going to do it. The most they would do is bring it all to wherever Hasbro headquarters are.
Mm-hmm.
And then nuke Wizards except as an impressum, and just keep whatever the current edition is as an evergreen title and not develop it anymore. That would be the most they would do. They're not going to sell it to Disney. They're not going to sell it to Tencent. Uh, it's just it's simply not going to happen. It would be like it, it would be like Sony. I don't know. It would be like Sony selling the PlayStation to Microsoft. I mean, Wizards, love them or hate them, is a cash cow, and you don't sell a cash cow to the slaughterhouse.
Did you see that the president of Wizards has now become the president of Hasbro?
Yes, I had heard that. Yeah,
they're not going anywhere. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, they're not. I mean, I think people still have this mindset that it's still like 2003 or whenever Hasbro bought Wizards, that it's Wizards and Hasbro, and it's not. I mean, you just said the president of Wizards is now the president of Hasbro. It's not. Again, worst case scenario, they make an Impressum out of Wizards of the Coast and just never, renew D&D.
Yep.
Which would be equally dumb. They wouldn't do that. So I would, if you got your hopes up that somehow D&D will be liberated by a sale, first of all, if it did get sold, yes, it would be to somebody horrible like Universal Vivendi or Disney or Tencent. But second of all, that ain't gonna happen. So don't sweat it. Rich made a good point here, though. That's why I put it up on the screen. I was talking about the diversity of classic D&D, and Wizards did slap a disclaimer on all of the legacy products on D&D Classics or rather the classic section of DM's Guild, and Drive Through RPG has to carry it too. Yep. Hey, none of these products are diverse. They're from bad old times, the dark ages of 1970. They might say Oriental instead of Asian. So, ooh, and you're right. I mean, I have some very negative opinions about the people who currently run that function of Wizards of the Coast. Just the caving in on old versions of D&D. There's a meme amongst people of a certain political leaning over the last years that goes to the effect of, I just wanted to be left alone to grill.
Yep.
And without going down that road, I kind of feel the same way. I just wanted to be left alone to play D&D. I never exclude people from my games as long as they want to play D&D and aren't acting like a shit to me or the other people at the table. That's it. That's my gatekeeping. No shitty people at the table. that's my game. A willingness to sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons, the Dungeons and Dragons that I'm running. I think we can all agree that that is good gatekeeping. And the problem is not enough people have embraced that. And so you wind up with baristas and blue hairs. The people who want to play that, I don't think really understand fantasy role-playing games. I mean,
yeah, I did see someone on Twitter a few weeks ago. She was asking, is there any, modules for Dungeons and Dragons that don't involve combat? And I was like, oh.
I don't. Yeah, I just.
Now if she wants to write one, okay, more power to her. But that's just. It just seems like at that point you would be happier playing a different game.
Yeah. I just. Again, I mean, what you just gotta hit this point where it's like, maybe there's another game you'd rather be playing, or I don't know. I feel like I'd wind up going in circles and just getting frustrated. But I mean, ultimately, all you can do, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yep.
Mobius says Mattel gets my money now. What does Mattel do gaming wise these days? I'm not being a smart aleck. What do they do gaming wise these days? Alan says more women designers are needed, in my opinion, if they bring good ideas. If I know opinions of the Dragonlance modules vary, but Margaret Weiss wrote some kick-ass dungeon adventures with Tracy Hickman.
Mm-hmm.
So right there. I know that Gene Wells wrote B3, Palace of the Silver Princess. The only reason that one got pushed back was because of some of the art. The adventure is fine. But that's. I think there are ample examples of women designers who've played who played or rather women designers who've designed adventures in D&D. Not the most prominent ones, no, but again, Palace of the Silver Princess is a good one. And there are the Dragonlance modules.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to go to other versions of D&D to look for others, though. So I'm sorry, I'm getting a little punchy. We've been going at this for like 3.5 hours. I'm getting like Nick Ricada run times on my videos here. I don't have his viewers, but speaking of which, we are. Yang, are you going to come to the virtual convention when it kicks off?
Oh, heck yeah.
Excellent. We're going to do that. We are at 870. Rob just popped in and said, congrats on 870. Happy to make it a live stream again, Lego. Make it to a live stream again. I think he's saying Lego because people are talking about what their toys of preference were or are. But yes, we are 870 subs on the YouTube channel. Guys, go out and tell your friends, tell your family if they're interested in role-playing games, classic Dungeons and Dragons, classic RPGs, playing role-playing games online. Hit the YouTube channel. Click like, click subscribe. It's right there, and you get me talking about classic D&D and classic role-playing games 5 nights a week. Live stream games, lots of fun stuff. So do come and check us out. And for those of you that already have, thank you very much. And I especially thank my guest tonight, Yang Yanzhao. Yang, what is your YouTube channel? How do we find you?
It is Yang Yanzhao. You can look for me. Hopefully I'll be posting on a regular basis. Every week, review indie comics, movies, TV shows, and role-playing games. Soon we'll be focusing on the basics of D&D 5e, but then we'll be moving into Stars Without Numbers, getting into other kinds of role-playing games like Dread. So hopefully it'll be a good year.
Wrong Dread, sorry. So do you have any writing projects out there you'd like to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
I am working on D&D, a campaign guide for D&D 5e. It's an original world. I'm hoping to shore up a lot of the problems I see with some of the more modern output you see from Wizards of the Coast. And I want to bring it back to a little bit closer to a Robert E. Howard feel to the world. It's an overarching horror campaign, but you get to go. Starts off, the setting is New England horror. You end up going on some pirate adventures, and you end up in the jungles, exploring ruins, and in the desert. So it's overall should be a lot of fun. Hopefully it will be published by the end of the year, but if anyone's interested in playing D&D 5e, I am putting together a playtest group.
Excellent.
So I need a couple more players if anyone is able to play twice a month. I don't know exactly the time yet. Once we get enough people to start a group, we'll get in there and confirm times. And so probably the best way to contact me is find me on, I know, Twitter. It's at YangYanJao4 on Twitter.
Excellent. And so the project is is that going to be a self-publish, or who are you publishing that through? Or can you say? If you can't say, I understand.
No, I'm going to self-publish it.
Okay.
Good. DM skill, like, come on. I'm not putting in all that work to give somebody 50%. So everything is going to be original in there. I'm not using any Wizards of the Coast content.
Good. That's good for you. I look forward to it. And anything that leans into a Robert E. Howard feel is okay by me, as far as I'm concerned. I'm a master of, I can use that in my campaign. I don't care what edition it's for. So it sounds like it'll be a good work regardless. And I wish you the absolute best of luck.
Hoping to get it done by the end of the year. To put it out there, I'll probably put it out for crowdfunding, which I'll use for early sales if you want a print book. Right on.
Well, I am a man who likes having print books in hand. PDFs are fine, but I tend to agree with my co-host Kyle that people tend to collect PDFs. People read books.
Yep.
I think we all have folders upon folders of nice little role-playing games and supplements and modules and newsletters and stuff we have never looked at. I will admit to being guilty of that to a greater or lesser extent. But if I've got it in hand, I will definitely look at it a lot. So when you get it in print, let us know, and we will pimp the hell out of it on the show.
Oh, thank you.
So Mutilation says that's a classic Shield poster over there. Thank you very much. I rather like that poster. That is I always get the artist wrong. That is Sirenko. That is Sirenko's work. I like that one a lot. But I think that just about wraps it up for the evening. Yang, anything in parting?
No, just thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to Gamma World.
Yes, Gamma World will be great. And guys, if you're looking to play some classic Gamma World, hit me up on the Discord, and we'll fit you in. We'll play some Gamma World and mutate the hell out of you and put an arm on top of your head and everything else and give you psionic powers. It'll be fun. We'll find it'll probably wind up being Friday nights that we'll do Gamma World, and I'll do it like Tuesdays, a little bit of chat before, and then we'll do the game. You got a follower there. Rob says, nice. Now following Yang on Twitter.
Oh, thank you very much.
So good stuff all. Just ping me on the Discord. And if you want to, you can support on Patreon. Oh, I got to do this. I gotta give a shout out to the patrons. Is that going to come up? That's not going to come up right, Yang. I'm going to have to put you in the corner for a second.
Sure.
But there we go. I want to thank Digital Discord, Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru 1, 8 Mobius 8, Kevin Reynolds, Joseph Lucas, John David, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien X247, and James F. Keck for being patrons. Thank you all so very much. And it has been scrolling across the bottom of the screen all night long. So if you want to support on Patreon, you can go there and you can do the thing. For as little as $1, you can have a thank you and access to videos and all other kinds of fun stuff. So I really appreciate the heck out of everyone who does that. And if you don't want to, if you just want to sit back and watch the cool videos, that's fine too. I ain't a dick about it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Yang, for being here and sitting through 3.5 hours and dying early and playing
That's what D&D is about.
Exactly. You soloed Temple of the Frog.
Yes.
Tell your gaming group that.
Yes.
Say, I soloed Temple of the Frog. I have played old school hardcore OD&D, and I won. So have a great weekend, everybody, and just take it easy. Y'all have a blast, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.